The Los Angeles Rams on the road taking on the San Francisco 49ers. John, your look ahead over at your shop, San Francisco -6.5. After the results of the weekend, what's the adjustment?
Still 6.5. Both teams, bad losses today. One thing to look at, though, in this game, if you're looking for an angle, the Rams, I believe, were eliminated today. And the 49ers, we talked about it earlier, they really need some wins here down the stretch because the difference between having a first-round bye and being the 5 seed is massive. So really a critical game for San Francisco. I think a lot of teasers on Saturday are going to close with this game. Chronologically, it is the last game. And they're going to start with the New England Patriots.
Yeah. And it was awful. Humans, it was a terrible spot, really, for the 49ers today. After the brutal back-to-back road games that we talked about, to get a win like they did against New Orleans and then come back home laying 10 against the Atlanta Falcons. We talk about it like in longer regular seasons like basketball or Major League Baseball where you go on these long road trips and then come back first game home. Back-to-back road games is tough, especially given the caliber of opponent, and it showed up, I think, a little bit today for San Francisco.
Well, I mean, it's also a sandwich spot here because you're on the road against the Ravens and the Saints, 2 tough games. You come home, it's going to be a little bit of a flat spot because you got 2 division games on deck against the Rams and the Seahawks that are huge games for the 49ers. So I think that's why a lot of handicappers, I know, were on the Falcons catching the points here. And in fact, I told you I was in the top 100 in the Super Contest going into this week. It looks like I'm going to be 1-4 this week, and my only win is the Falcons. The Falcons catching the points against the 49ers. But with that Niners loss today, this game against the Rams becomes huge, and I agree with John Murray. This Saturday schedule in the NFL looks pretty good, but every bookmaker is going to see teasers show up on the Niners and the Patriots, without a doubt.
It's like when you have those NFL playoff Sundays with or Saturdays with 2 games. If they're both like around a touchdown, you just get absolutely crushed with 2-team teasers, 2-team moneyline parlays of those 2 favorites. You're going to get a ton of that, and we're going to get a ton of that. San Francisco, New England next week. I'm not really sure how they're going to attack that first game, but the Niners and the Patriots will be very popular teaser options.
It's time to follow the money with your hosts, Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard.
Hey, welcome aboard. We are live in Las Vegas, South Point Sportsbook. Loaded show, as always, on Thursdays. Paul Stone in an hour. He's going to have 3 or 4 college bowl games to bet on this weekend. We have Kenny White on the program as well. He's going to do some college football talk with us and some of his favorite bets. Bill Walkowski on Last Man Standing, and Paul Charchian brings a tear to my eye today as we have the last week of fantasy playoffs to discuss. We are, so many things to talk about today, Paulie. We can actually begin with a little college basketball. And I think that Gonzaga, North Carolina game from last night speaks to one thing, right, in the betting world, and that is just getting the best number. And if you're late to the party, it's time to lay off because Gonzaga opened up 10 on the overnight number, right? If you go back to Tuesday night and a look ahead, it was 10, and I know people that were on that right away. And then yesterday, mid-morning, early afternoon, that number turned into Gonzaga laying as many as 14 points, and they were up big in the first half. I'll give Carolina credit with no Cole Anthony with actually hanging in there in the first half, but Gonzaga won by 13 points.
Thought they'd run them out. Yes, open 10, close 14, falls 13. Also, the Utah Valley game, open 1, close 2.5. They won by 2. So this is a hell of a run by Gonzaga that they go in a span of a couple weeks. They beat Oregon, Washington, Arizona, and Carolina. And 2 were on the road and 1 was on a neutral.
Correct.
So they're going to have to earn the 1 seed because the West Coast is pretty good this year. St. Mary's has got off to a good start. They're a good team. BYU's not a gimme. Tough place to play. Santa Clara's off to a good start. So nice call by Mike Palm. They win by 13, and we gave it out yesterday.
We saw that last night with St. Mary's, by the way, against Arizona State.
Now, how about that? Could you believe that game?
No, I cannot.
St. Mary's opened the favorite against Arizona State. They went off the dog. It was 51-19 at the half. They beat them by 40. And a bench player for Arizona State had 43 of the 56 points. Harley's like, wow, I mean, no one else could make a shot. It's unfortunate we had to do it. Guy off the bench had 43 of the 56.
Look at that score.
96. Look at it. Pick 'em, essentially. 96-56. When do you see that? Oh, my God.
And St. Mary's is good. They're really good. And that's a team that Dayton blew out recently. So some of these mid-majors this year, that teams that are considered mid-majors, can really do some damage in come March. There's no doubt.
I jumped in the pool. I took Dayton 45-1.
Oh, you found him at 45-1.
After Matt was talking them up so much. Yeah, I had to. I said, okay, why not?
We saw it again last night, by the way, with what is a program that is thought of to be one of the best in the entire country out here in Las Vegas. Late night action last night at T-Mobile, and Kentucky goes down to Utah.
Yep.
They lost that game outright, 60, and they were laying 10 or 11 points in that game.
Yep. They were laying 10. LSU was laying 9. They got beat by East Tennessee State. So a couple big upsets last night.
Give you this from Jeff Goodman, the SoCon with a hell of a night. That LSU loss, that was to East Tennessee State. Wofford knocked off North Carolina earlier, and then North Carolina Greensboro went to Burlington and beat Vermont. So that conference is on a hell of a stretch right now. And then going back to Kentucky for a second, coming off this, and I know people were expecting big things last night, and some people were calling Utah bottom of the bottom half Pac-12 team, and the Utes could not miss in the first 15 minutes of that first half last night. Now Kentucky comes back. They stay in Las Vegas. They get Ohio State on Saturday. That's going to be in between all these bowl games that we have going on in the NFL. Then they have a week off. Next Saturday they play Louisville.
Jeez.
That's their schedule coming up.
Yeah, rough. Okay.
But it's going to be the same thing as it is every single year. They're going to struggle in November and December, and eventually these freshmen are going to become men, and they're going to get awesome. And then come February and March, they're going to win 25 games. They'll be a top 4 seed, and nobody's going to want to play them.
Some good stories out there. The start that Liberty's off to, SMU was off to a good start, so there's some under-the-radar teams that have some good records so far that aren't some of the big boys.
So where are you at right now with the bowl games that are coming up on Friday? And then, obviously, the big slate on Saturday.
Finally, it's here. Okay. So we start with the Bahamas Bowl tomorrow in a day game. I'm seeing 60% chance of rain and 25-mile-per-hour winds. And then you saw the move on the total. Oh, by the way, the Kent State, Utah State, right when we got off the air, that moved after Chuck was on, that moved on the over. And one correction, Chuck likes Georgia Southern over, not the side. He likes the game over. Georgia Southern and Liberty. Apologies there. I misunderstood him as we ran out of time. But both teams are on fire here. Both teams closed. Charlotte won 5 in a row.
Right.
Now, it was impressive that they beat Marshall, and Marshall needed it at the time to get in the Conference USA title game. Buffalo losing their welcome and follow the money, Pauly and Mitch Veason. Buffalo loses their quarterback and wide receiver to the NFL. They got off to a slow start. They closed winners of 5 of 6 and scoring 40 points in some of those games. So both teams are hot. Buffalo's 0-3 all-time in a bowl, and great job by Healy. And the AD said, we're going to take care of them. This is their first ever bowl. I think they became FCS in 2015, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So to close with a 5-game winning streak and then make this bowl, they're going to be excited. I'm sure they're fired up for this one, but is it enough? Is there almost a touchdown dog against a hot ball? There he is. Yeah, let's have some fun. There he is, the head coach, Healy. Show this video again.
I love this.
After they became bowl eligible, he's got the mascot, has shirts off, have a good time. We're in the club. Yeah, popping bottles. That's great. So they love this guy. But is it enough, though? Do they have enough talent? And, something Felica always talks about, do you want to bet, and Kenny White will do it too later in the show. Well, it's one thing to bet on a MAC team in a bowl game. You want them laying points?
Exactly right. And now the total is down all the way to 51.5 this morning. By the way, I'll go back to the beginning of the season.
Well, both teams are fantastic running the ball.
Yeah.
Great rushing attacks. Buffalo can't throw it. But if you got rain, I don't know. It's a tough handicap.
Sure.
Because you got to see about the weather and how windy it is. And also, the Reynolds, the quarterback for Charlotte's good. He's their second leading rusher, and he has 21 touchdowns.
I want to say it was Lindy's preseason college football magazine. They ranked, well, first of all, it was a great magazine this year, and they ranked everything, including the top new head coaches across all of college football, and they called Healy at Charlotte a top 5. I think he was 4 or 5 on the list.
You know what's fascinating? These ADs and these search committees, they won't do it, right? They got to go with the retread or a bigger name because they have to win the press conference. Why don't you get Bill Clark? Why don't you get Healy? Why don't you get some of these other guys?
All right.
Because you wouldn't win the press conference. And
yet,
is Kiffin really going to succeed at Ole Miss? I like the guy. He's a character. You really think he's going to win at Ole Miss?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, is he going to win 10 games, or is he going to be 7-5 and go to bowl games?
The latter. I don't even think that's realistic.
I would say I think he could do that because he can recruit. I think he can win 7-8 games, but to get to the point of where Ole Miss was like 5 years ago, where they had some of the best recruiting classes in the country, and then they were challenging.
Well, they were cheating
Alabama.
their asses off, though, too.
Of course they were, right?
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Right.
I mean, everybody does. We know that. It's not just teams in that conference.
Well, but when Ole Miss is getting those kind of players.
Sure. And then did you happen to see this, by the way? Yesterday was recruiting day.
Oh.
What a sad state of affairs out here for USC. And this is just, I'm going to be beating a dead horse with this, but Clay Helton, the fact that they actually retained this guy and brought him back for one more year, how bad of a sign is this when you see, and I'm not the biggest recruiting guy, the 5 stars, the 4 stars.
Was it because it was a holdup and it was touch and go for a while?
It certainly could have been.
Doesn't make any sense.
Uh-huh.
They got a worse recruiting class than Louisiana Tech and Bowling Green.
Yeah.
They're dead last in the Pac-12.
Number 12 out of 12 teams, and you see this from Matt Leinart. Oregon is the new USC on the West Coast. Nobody used to dare to come to SoCal. Now it's, I can't, there's something in my way. Whatever it says. Open season in Oregon is hunting.
Yeah, camera's in the way. Right.
Yeah.
It's for the second year in a row, Oregon got the number 1 guy out of Los Angeles.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. So Leinart's ticked off.
And look at this.
It's an embarrassment.
What a great tweet this is.
What an abomination. I can't, this is real life now. I mean, you could, Carroll dominated.
0 5 stars, it says. When you get all the way down to USC, there's categories underneath it. Right there, 0 and 1 4 star, it says. 10 3 stars.
You ever been to Corvallis? Oregon State beat them. Oregon State's got a better class. Louisiana Tech.
Never.
Rustin.
I mean, that's if, okay, we'll use this as the example, I guess. If Dan Mullen would somehow fall on his face at Florida, and all of a sudden the Gators were number 14 out of 14 in the SEC, that should never, ever, ever happen. Or Texas, if they went to the bottom of it's all the same thing. They're in Los Angeles.
Yep.
10 years ago, 15 years. Oh, my God.
No surprise who the big 3 are again. Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the same teams every year in, year out now. I don't see this changing.
And I think it was Sweeney landed 4 of the top 50 that were all defensive linemen or something like that again. So it's just they can keep losing these guys over and over, and guess what? There's a new batch that's just as good.
Yeah.
Incredible. What he's turned that program into.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah, he's the man. Do you have any thoughts on the Bahamas Bowl? You have an opinion? I guess I would I would have to take Buffalo. Now that you see how great they are with the rushing attack, and even though it's the MAC team, but
No, I would.
I did take the under account of the win, but you can always get off this stuff within play.
Yeah, and here's the thing: where does this number actually go to? It's been driven down 5 full points already from the opening total at 56.5. I don't know, laying 6.5 with the MAC team again. I go back to that. Nah.
Yeah. Here's the winning streak for Charlotte. They beat North Texas by 1. They beat Middle Tennessee, UTEP, Marshall by 11, and then Old Dominion. And then Buffalo closed, winners of 5 of 6, and they scored 43 points in 4 of the 5 games.
Okay.
So they can light it up too with their rushing attack. And Patterson's got 17 touchdowns. So good game though. Good game to start. Maybe someone gets carried away though too. Maybe it's okay. We're in the Bahamas. Let's have a good time. And last thing you're worried about is the actual game. Just like when we do this with a game in Hawaii every year. Buffalo 6-1 ATS run as well.
Okay, I'm seeing, by the way, that Georgia Southern Bowl game against Liberty. They're down to 4 this morning. Total was 58.
Yeah.
And Chucky said it's on the over. There was a good observation. It might have been JVT on the edge here on VSiN. Somebody pointed this out. If you go back and look at Liberty's wins this year, listen to this list of teams.
Yeah.
They beat Buffalo, Hampton, New Mexico State twice, Maine, and UMass. 7 wins right there for Liberty. Oh, that is not good. And Georgia Southern
beat App State again.
Yes, they did.
Top 20 team.
And they do one thing, and they do it extremely well.
Right, yeah.
And if you can't stop it, it's going to be a long, long afternoon.
And I think they will be able to run all over.
I think so, too.
I'm surprised at the move there. How about the Oklahoma? Now this is official.
Oh,
yeah. 3 guys suspended. Perkins, the defensive end, leads them in sacks, 13.5 tackles for loss. Stevenson's out. Tailback. He had 50 yards and a touchdown against Baylor. And the other kids, the wide receiver, not much. He only had 1 catch in 8 games.
Well, Perkins is the big one here.
Sure, yeah. So now you don't have that. And then so the guy here, once again, guys had information, as that went from 13 to 14 in a lot of shops earlier in the week. And ESPN now confirming the report as well after the Oklahoma message board and Sooner Scoop, whatever it was, that these guys are out. And LSU up to 14.
I do see some shops at 13 this morning. I think this might be people responding with the other news, how the LSU injury could balance out what happened to Oklahoma, because this could be potentially really big. Their star running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this came out, it was a late Tuesday night. And this is from a guy who covered LSU for a long, long time, for like more than a decade. He had this report for SI. He was injured Tuesday. Coach Joe had to talk about it yesterday. He has no idea about the status. It didn't look good right away. If you recall, nobody really talked about his performance in the game against Alabama. It was all Burrow, and Burrow was amazing. But the two running backs in that game, the kid for Alabama and this guy, Edwards-Helaire, they were unstoppable in that game. They were the two best offensive players outside of Joe Burrow the entire time. In that game, he had, where was it? He had 4 touchdowns against Alabama. And on the season, 1,290 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6.6 yards per carry, and 50 catches for 400 yards. He was you could not tackle the kid.
They're just going to throw all over him, though. And I thought Todd McShay did a good job yesterday breaking it down with the Bear and Stanford Steve. You're going to have 5'9" corners trying to match up with these physical and these big LSU wide receiver. Good luck with these Oklahoma corners.
That's not going to happen.
And he's going to have time to throw and just pick them apart.
Yeah.
After he made Georgia look like a high school team.
We talked about this. The potential of an Ohio State-Oklahoma game. How many times did Ohio State punt? How many times do you think LSU is going to punt?
That's a good prop.
Over, under
That's
1?
a good prop. The other good tidbit from that show, and we've talked about it all week, how bad they are, period. But the Pac-12 is on a 1-9-1 ATS run in bowl games as a favorite. So act accordingly there.
They're like the MAC.
Yeah.
It honestly doesn't even really matter.
4-17 run, and then 1-9-1 is a favorite.
And that said, one of my favorite bowl games is Oregon when they were +3.
Brad Edwards is right. That is the second best bowl game, the Rose Bowl. Because LSU is going to take out Oklahoma. I mean, I think I agree with them.
I could see that.
Oregon, Wisconsin's a good game.
Yeah, it should be a really good game.
That's probably the second best bowl game. Mm-hmm. Behind Ohio State, Clemson. Good.
Yep.
Fantastic. A lot of NFL news, too. We get Jacobs is out.
Yeah.
Brown is out for the year.
But did you see the tweet from Vic Tafur, who covers the team? Gruden's going to hold him out this week to see if he can actually go against Denver in Week 17.
Silly.
Why?
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
You're playing for nothing.
No. Yeah. Well, we'll see if they can change his mind. A good call by you with the A.J. Brown now. Maybe Jacobs out for the year. And the Chargers took money up to 7 with this news yesterday. And Renfro's supposed to be back, too. So we are alive and well with under 6.5. Especially with the Chargers.
Can you believe this?
You get some kind of an effort out of the Chargers after that performance against the Vikings.
You needed the miracle at home against Jacksonville, and you got it.
Uh-huh. Yep. Smith-Schuster back at practice. Sherman's going to play Saturday. Adams is back for the Jets. No Johnson or Aguilar or Howard at practice for the Eagles.
How about the news with Dak?
Now, this is bizarre.
This came out of nowhere.
Yes.
Zeke actually said, here's the tweet from Ed Werder. Zeke said Prescott's injured AC joint is something he'd have previously and cannot imagine throwing with it. Zeke had it previously, and he could never, ever imagine throwing the ball with it. But he left zero doubt that Prescott's never missed a practice, by the way. How do you like that? Kid's a machine.
Yeah, that was a weird report yesterday about how banged up he is. And they've been taking money. Lions have injuries. It gets worse as their defense is atrocious. They're banged up at the linebacker position, and Scarborough's questionable. Denver up to 7.
Yep. And
now it looks like the Vikings could hold out Cooked until the playoffs. Now they might clinch Saturday night when the Rams play the 49ers, but they're still taking money. The Vikings are up to 5.5, and Cousins has never won a Monday night game. And I don't think Cook's going to play, and they might not play Week 17. 5.5 now against the Packers.
Okay, so when does this number get out of control?
It is out of control.
Is it right now?
It's officially out of control.
Will you take Packers +6?
No, well, yes. Yeah, I'll take 6, but I also, I still have them. I'll take 6, but I also have them to win the division. So
right.
But this is too much now. This is too much.
So, okay, I like the Vikings still to win this game a lot.
That was a phony game last week. The Packers dominated the Bears.
Yeah, it was.
They fell asleep.
That was 21-3 third quarter, and it was weird.
But Scantling dropped a 75-yard touchdown to start the game. They kept moving it on them. They went for it 4th down a couple times. It didn't work out. It was too cold to kick for whatever reason. There was miscommunication on another 4th down. They would go right down the field, and then the drive would stop inside the 30.
I don't disagree.
So, But then again, I mean, the Vikings, they were great last week, but the Chargers gave them the game with 7 turnovers. And I know you have your concerns about the Green Bay defense, but if I got a banged-up Thielen, I don't have Cook. Again, Cousins in a big game.
Okay, so we all know this now that I'm not very high on this Green Bay team this year. Like, I don't think they can win the NFC. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. I think the Vikings are a better team. How many points would you give Minnesota for home field? 3.5? It's one of the highest in all of football.
They've been great at home. That's the one concern.
I think here at home,
other than the first half against Denver, they've been fantastic at home.
I think you got to give this team 3.5, maybe even lean to like 4 points at home. But if you disagree with that and you say, no, Mitch, home field's only worth 3, and if you're of that notion, then you're telling me that Minnesota right now is 2.5 better on a neutral than Green Bay?
Well, what do you look at the first meeting? I mean, it was 21-0 Green Bay, and they fell asleep.
Yeah. That's the thing with this team. They have their moments where they're just they look brilliant, and then for 75% of the game, the rest of the game is like, what happened? Where was the team that we had in the first quarter? And I know Charchian is fired up about this. And the Pro Bowl thing means nothing. I can't even believe it's a big deal anymore. But how is
motivation?
How is Aaron Rodgers in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yep. So they beat the Raiders at home by 3 touchdowns. They spanked Atlanta. Atlanta had 2 garbage touchdowns when it was over. They blew out Philly by 18. Beat the Redskins by 10. And then the Denver game where they came back after they were getting blown out, and they put them away, and then they beat Detroit by 13. Mm-hmm. So they closed with 2 home games. And they're 7 at the Westgate against Chicago.
And now it appears as if Madison could actually give it a go, which I'm surprised by. Earlier in the week, it looked like he was going to miss the game. I like that Boone kid, though. He can play.
Yes.
He was like a preseason wonder. Like him a lot. By the way, so if that number is out of control, at what point, and I know what your answer is going to be, you're going to say it's not, but the Chiefs are now up to 6 against the Bears on the road. And I fully anticipate the Chiefs going there and winning this game, but the point spread is a great equalizer here. It's 5.5 to South Point. This keeps going up and away. It opened up 4, up to 6.
Well, they're just playing for pride. And this is the Trubisky game because he's been asked about it all week. This is, okay, well, we screwed up. We took you instead of Mahomes and Watson. So he said no do-overs. Maybe he comes in with a chip on his shoulder and plays well. But the one thing Spagnuolo's doing a good job of is putting pressure on and putting heat on the quarterback. So it was a snowball last week. Great job against Denver and a good job against the Patriots. That's a tough game, though.
I was looking at some numbers
Maybe
last
the
night.
elements get to, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a strange game. Number one, that they kept it and didn't flex out.
I know.
After the Bears lost, and now it's up to 6 in some spots.
So I bet the Chiefs this week to win the AFC, and I probably could have done the rollover. I might do that on top of getting plus 350 to win the AFC. And by the looks of it, the Chiefs at Baltimore right now, things can change, but right now the Chiefs would be getting about 5.5 in Baltimore if they played there in the playoffs. I would take KC plus the 5.5 if that's going to be the number.
I also thought Lombardi was great yesterday on My Guys in the Desert with Brent about why he likes Baltimore, about what we've been talking about, analytics, and they're going for it on 4th down.
I love that.
The other thing he brought up, he's right, Tucker. How many of these playoff teams in the AFC could you really trust their kicker in a big spot? I agree. That's a good point he made.
Well,
Tucker's automatic. You try Patriots? No. Chiefs? No. Texans? No.
Bucker's okay. He's no Tucker. I mean, nobody is Tucker, though, right?
Once they cross midfield, that's it. They're in range.
Yeah. We talked about that in the 49ers game. So those two teams go to war for 3 hours in a slop fest, and then they get within range, and who can they rely on? Hey, by the way, in a ton of rain, go out there and make like a 49-yarder. Okay, coach, no problem. Bam, game's over. Mm-hmm. How many teams can actually say that? They're probably the only one.
Uh-huh.
In conditions like that.
Good point by Lombardi.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN. We'll recap all of last night's betting action with the bad beats. Win some, lose some, coming up next.
VSiN last week. Here's some of what you missed.
The Detroit Lions and the Denver Broncos. This is a really interesting spot. So your guys' look ahead over at the Superbook, John, was Denver minus 6.5. Both of these teams coming off losses in which they did not look great. But what do you make in the adjustment? What's the line now?
we reopened at 6 this afternoon, this evening. We're back up to 6.5, so we've been pushed back up a little bit on this game. Total of 38, so clearly we don't make much of the two quarterbacks in this game, Blau and Locke. They both struggle today, let's say that. Tough spot for Locke, though, on the road in that snowstorm. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. So, Humans, what do you make of this? Because you had the note in the last hour, for those who missed it, coming into today, Broncos were 7-2 against the number in their previous 9 games before failing to cover against Kansas City. Locke, you can't deny that Locke had showed promise in the 2 games prior, but you are playing in Denver, which we could have the chance of inclement weather yet again for the young quarterback.
Yeah, you could. It's interesting when you look at the Lions because this team actually had played well in the first month, right? And I think it was Kurt Warner of the NFL Network who tweeted that the Lions, he had watched tape and he said the Lions were the best team in that division. Yep. Right? And they are sitting there right now, 3-10-1. So it's been a pathetic last couple months for the Lions. I'm not sure what this team's playing for at this point. And at least Drew Lock and the Broncos, they feel like they're trying to find out if he's going to be next year's starting quarterback. Is he going to be the franchise quarterback? So a little bit more incentive on the Broncos side. 2 putrid performances for both of these teams. Oakland on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is great. Chargers on the look-ahead, John, was -6.5. What do we have on the open today?
Right now, the Chargers are a 5-point favorite. There's a total of 47. It's a hard game to know what to do with. Is this a letdown spot for Oakland after they lost the last game in the Coliseum? Do either of these teams care? Yeah. Are the Raiders fans going to show up in L.A. to support the team? My guess to that one's probably yes, because the Raiders have a great fan base. Well, after what happened today with the Raiders in the last game in the Black Hole, I think their fans probably even got to be a little bit dispirited. Sure. And, if you look at the Chargers in this spot, too, JVT, is this going to be Phillip Rivers' final game? Is going to be his final home game as a Chargers quarterback, you would think, right? Yeah. So it's going to mean something, I would think, to Phillip Rivers, and the Raiders got to be a little bit flat just after what happened. That's just a ridiculous loss today by the Raiders, and I don't know, now that team has lost, was it 5 in a row? Yeah, I believe they were 6-4. Now they're 6-8. I think they lost 6 and 8. Lost 4 in a row, and to lose the final game in the Black Hole the way they did today, I think it would be kind of hard to motivate that team next week. And this being Phillip Rivers' likely final home game as a Chargers quarterback, I think I would have to look that direction, but I really don't want to touch a Chargers game at this point.
This part of the show is brought to you by Points Bets. Download the app today. Start betting with $1,000. Sign up with the code VSIN500. Here's what you do. You deposit $500 to get an extra $500 in bonus bets. Again, the code is VSIN500. Get the PointsBet app today. New Jersey only. Must be 21 plus. Additional terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. PointsBet. Stay sharp. Here we go. Win, lose.
Rough night?
Can't call it a bad beat. Definitely lose some.
Good night? How does it make you feel?
I absolutely hate them. I absolutely hate them.
Follow the Money looks back so we can learn for today.
Everything's an adventure.
And win some, lose some. Let the education commence.
Here we go. Bad beat and also lose some. Heat Sixers under 213.5 down to 208. 56 points in the fourth quarter, falls 212. And the Heat hand the Philly their first home loss. They threw a zone at them. They didn't know what to do. They were up big in that game. Yep. Spoelstra, the man. And got revenge after they got blown out earlier in the year against them.
I believe the run in the second quarter was 27-7. That game completely flipped, and they never gave it away.
Correct. Magic +9, led by 15 in the third quarter in Denver. Lost by 9.
Get the push.
Lose some. Pistons +4 down to 2. Lost at home by double digits against Toronto. Here's the Arizona State game. +2. Went off a 1-point favorite. Lost by 40 against St. Mary's. Oh, man. Tennessee State, Indiana State under 147 down to 143. 78-72. Richmond, Old Dominion over 128 up to 132. 62-59. Kentucky and LSU laying 9, both lost. Bad for the books. Pelicans from 7 down to 3.5. No cat. They won outright in Minnesota. Warriors, Blazers over 219 up to 221. 122-112. Niagara, the Bonaventure over 130 up to 133.5. 87-70. East Tennessee State, LSU under 153 down to 149. East Tennessee State by 11. and it stays under. The Zags from 10 up to 14, won by 13. Utah Valley from 1 up to 2.5, won by 2. Lose some. John Pappas. There are a couple of provisions in the draft with Tennessee sports wagering rules that should concern you. Number 1, mandate that the operators hold 15%.
How can you mandate something like that?
Number 2, limits on parlays and props, including grading a push as a loss. Oh, no.
Holy Toledo.
I hope. Come on.
I know this was taken off last night on Twitter, and I put my head right in my hands, and I'm like, what are people doing, man?
15% mandate.
It's a mandated policy to hold 15%.
Wow.
You're
grading
walking
a
up,
push is a loss.
You're walking up to the ticket counter and betting with people with a ski mask on.
That's right.
That's what's happening.
That's right. Win some. Let's go number 3. This is so good. Guy's going to sit down with his food. But up! The dog pushes the chair out from
all
under
over the
him.
place.
What a move. The guy's ready to sit down, and the dog comes in and to get out. That is so good. Look at the guy. What are you doing? I mean, he goes ass over tea kettle. He's wearing it. Oh, what a move by the dog. What would be, that's wild.
Yeah.
This pushes the chair. This one is called Honey, I Lost My Boat. Look at this. Look at the size of those creatures. Just look at how big are those seals? They're bigger than the boat.
First of all,
it's like Jaws. We're going to need a bigger boat.
No kidding. What kind of seal is this? This has got to be some sort of hybrid seal / whale. I've never seen a seal this big in my entire life. That thing's got to weigh a ton. A single seal, and there are 2 of them up on the boat. One of the seals is half the size of the boat, and it's capsizing with 2 of them on it. Right?
You're going to need some help.
I mean, what does it take? Yeah, right? What does it take to sink a boat? It's got to take a couple of tons, right?
Look on the guy's face. Yeah, you got a problem? Huh? Yeah. You got a problem?
I don't know what's going on here.
I'm the captain now. I'm the captain.
Look at me.
Love it. At Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. The German Shepherd is up, by the way. Might be the best dog video ever. Get in the spirit, right? Get on the subway. Guy's dressed as a Christmas tree. Look at that outfit.
That's something that you would do, Paul.
Or my dad. This is my costume. That is wild.
Where's his face at?
I can't see it.
Oh, there. Okay, that's right there. It's
yeah.
moving. Okay, I got
Look at that. He's dressed as a Christmas tree. Got the ornaments and everything. Win-lose brought to you by Al Lasso Injury Law. He is the man. Consultation's free. Got me out of a lot of trumped-up bunco charges. If you're hurt or injured due to someone else's fault, call Al Lasso Injury Law, 702-625-8777, or go to his website, lassoinjurylaw.com. He'll fight for you. Largest verdict in the U.S. in a slip-and-fall case. He delivers. He's the man.
I'm going to call it the biggest regular season game in the NBA so far this season. Is that fair?
Fair.
24-4, taking on 24-4. Lakers at the Bucks, and Milwaukee ranks first or second in so many categories that I lost count. We'll preview the game coming up next.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
We opened this game, New England 7. Not much has changed in the last couple hours, in my opinion. You might see this number go up a little bit because the public is going to be all over New England, but I think there's going to be some sharp support for the Bills. You know, the Bills' defense continues to impress almost every week, and the Patriots' offense continues to struggle almost every week. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you really need to go higher than 7 on this game.
Well, it's similar to the first match, right? It just sat on 7 the entire week, and
yeah, and really, I think New England, if I remember that game, they scored on a blocked punt for a touchdown.
Yep.
I mean, even the game today, New England had a pick 6. Tom Brady only threw for 128 yards.
Oh, and he looked bad. Like, he was inaccurate. He wasn't finding guys.
And I saw him miss a wide-open throw in the end zone that should have been a touchdown. I mean, even his first touchdown pass, he just dumped it off to James White, who ran it into the end zone. Yep. Brady, I don't think it's all his fault, but he's not playing very well right now.
Yeah. And I'll say this, too, because we make a lot of this New England offense and the way they've looked, humans, and it's granted, it's actually warranted because they have looked bad. Joe Mixon was trashing them in the first half. And defensively, we have seen them now in about 3 matchups where they face competent offenses, especially ground games, and they have no answer for it defensively after having a historic run to their first 8 games on defense. So be interesting to see, because we've talked about it here off the air. You got a pretty good running back in Devin Singletary, who they use quite a bit, and a quarterback who can run the ball very well in Josh Allen. And the last point on this, the game that John was referencing, the first matchup, you saw Matt Barkley for about a quarter in that game too, remember?
Right.
Wait, here's a question. If Buffalo clinches a playoff berth, they're not going to catch New England for the division. How much do they care about weeks 16 and 17?
What do you mean?
Won't they already have their playoff position basically locked in?
I mean, they can still win the AFC East, though.
They could still catch New England? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Bills
So-
would be 10-4 with a win tonight.
Yep.
So they would be, okay, they'd only be 1 game behind. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Washington, a 4-point favorite against Boise State. Looks to be the highest profile matchup by a pretty wide margin, actually. So, yeah, I would say that'll be the biggest handle game of the day in college football.
So most books in town, actually almost every other book in town is at 3.5, but the Westgate's sitting at 4, Washington -4.
Yeah, we haven't seen any sharp action there. Chris Peterson going away game there, revenge spot for Peterson. There really hasn't been much to report on that game yet.
San Diego State 3.5-point favorite over Central Michigan. Georgia Southern 5.5 over Liberty. SMU 3 over Florida Atlantic without Lane Kiffin. Arkansas State 2.5 over Florida International, and App State 17 over UAB.
App State will be a real popular pick.
Yeah.
You got the night game, 6 o'clock local time out here. Everyone's going to roll their parlays to the Appalachian State Mountaineers there.
Finally get bowl starting this Friday. A full slate on Saturday. Get stats, trends, and analysis for all 40 bowl games in VSiN's College Bowl Guide. Available now for $14.99. VSiN.com/subscribe. You're going to get 10 experts from VSiN giving their best bets during the entire season. Musburger, Makinen battle it out head-to-head for the 3rd consecutive year. They take a position on every single side and total for every single game. Again, the Bowl Guide right now available $14.99. And you can order your copy at VSiN.com.
It is something.
/subscribe.
Love the layout.
This NBA game tonight. The doubleheader, by the way.
Good job.
You right?
No NFL. Big doubleheader. Yes. Lakers Bucks 24-4 against 24-4. Of course, they both lost their last game, so we didn't have a 19-game winning streak against whatever the 15 in a row on the road. And then you got Rockets and Clippers. So great job by the league here.
So
I'm ready for this one tonight. Now we're only seeing. Of course, there's no line here.
It looks like.
But AD's supposed to go. You're seeing 5.
Looks like 5 dimes is the only book right now that I have anyway showing, Milwaukee
80's
5.
Sorry, 80's supposed to be back. No Kuzma, no Bledsoe. Lakers 14-2 on the road. So, I tell you who played well the other night was Dwight Howard.
20 points, didn't
10
miss.
10. And LeBron has been unbelievable with his passing this season and leading the league in assists. He only had 20 points. He didn't get any help in that game. But I don't have a problem with it. There's a lot of talk about, who's their 3rd best player, because Kuzma's been a disappointment. Well, I don't care. They have 2 of the top 5, top 6 players in the league, so you just see how dangerous they are. And
I know. By the way, Paul,
a great number 1 defensive team in the league.
This goes back to how they actually salvaged the offseason by scraping together a team that resembles somebody that can do some damage in the NBA during the playoffs. They put together a pretty decent roster. So 2 of the top 6,
They did.
fine. And you don't. By the way, the whole Big 3 thing is one of the dumbest things now going on at decade.
Sure. And Danny Green's a really good player. He's a nice player.
Of course.
Knocked down a 3, plays some defense.
He's got that championship moxie. Yeah. But so I was looking at some numbers last night as a team. The Bucks are just so good right now, and I get it. Their schedule hasn't been great. They've beaten up on a lot of the bottom teams in the league. They also have some good wins. They beat Houston by 6. They beat Toronto by 10. They won at the Clippers by 5. They beat the Clippers in the rematch of Milwaukee by more than 20. And they killed Indy by almost 20 as well.
Yeah. Well, it's something we've talked about a couple times now. They had the no-show. It happens. We're a letdown, and you look past the team because their best player's out. So they lose at home against Dallas, and you give Dallas credit. But 2 of the other losses, they blew huge leads. They were up big at Boston.
I got it right here.
And then they were up 20, in the 3rd quarter against Miami.
That's right. It was game 2 of the season. They were coming off an opening night win against Houston on the road. They lost by 5 in overtime. They had a 17-point lead at halftime, led by 20 in the 3rd quarter, like you said. And the game in Boston, they led by 16 points at halftime. And the Celtics came out after the break, and they outscored them by 20 points in the third quarter, and they eventually won the game.
Should not happen. Because remember, they were so good. They were a machine in the third quarter last year.
But here you go with the Bucks. So offensively, with the efficiency numbers, they're number 2 in the entire NBA behind the Mavericks. But this team ranks first overall in the following categories: defensive efficiency, pace, effective field goal percentage, points per game, rebounds, defensive rebounds, net rating, true shooting percentage, fast break points and points in the paint, opponents' second chance points, and opponents' points in the paint. They rank first as a team in all of those categories. And they're like second or third. I sent out one tweet last night. I couldn't even finish the tweet. That's how high they're up on some of these ratings.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I talked to I was going back and forth last night with Ian Duncan. He has been a 20-year season ticket holder for this team, and I just simply asked him, "Is this the best Bucks team you've ever better than?" He's like, "Mitch, they're so much better than last year."
What if they had Brogdon? What if they were able to hold on to him?
He doesn't like Brogdon.
Oh, come on.
He's not a Brogdon guy.
Oh, that's crazy.
But he said that not only is the team better than last year, and remember their win total was 57.5.
Yep.
People are expecting a big
I bet the
progression. But he said that watching Freak in person, he's already so much better than last year.
That I agree with.
His player efficiency rating now is over 34.
Well, he didn't get any help, too, in the other game. I mean, he had 48.
48, and it was nobody else.
Right. So that's a great matchup. The second game is intriguing. I like the Clippers. This is not working out with Houston and Westbrook, which the guy can't shoot. So, and taking his worst three-point shooter in NBA history,
correct,
Westbrook. Mm-hmm. So the Clippers are laying 5 at home. They're 14-1 at home, and 233 the total. And the Rockets are coming off that epic comeback against the Spurs when they were down 25 and rallied to win. So I thought David Thorpe, as always, was fantastic on Tuesday, and the Spurs kind of did just like, don't foul the guy. If he hits shots, so be it, but don't foul him. Because he gets to the line 20 times, there you go, free points. So I'm a little surprised it's this low.
Yeah.
And the Clippers have been great at home. And I had sign me up right now, please, if it's LA in the Western Conference Finals.
Can you imagine what that's going to be like? With Kawhi taking
weird
on LeBron?
And well, sure, but also be weird that it's the same arena.
Yeah.
How strange that would be.
But also, if that's the Western Conference Finals, what do they do with the start times? That's going to be a concern for the NBA. If they're
6?
Playing on a Tuesday, Thursday,
Pacific.
Will they put them at 6? Or are they going to say it's got to be 7:30?
No, it won't. No. They got the new rule in place. Not going to do that.
Yeah.
Silver stepped in. What was I going to say? Well, because the Jazz have been a big disappointment. Denver, I mean, you just saw with the Lakers, it took them apart. And many people are just saying that's just a bad matchup. Denver can't beat the Lakers. I don't think Houston's going to do it. So maybe the one team you have to worry about is Dallas if they get healthy. And this is like the SEC. When you watch, ESPN and it's, the week in, week out grind. It's like if you repeat the lie over and over again, people start to believe it. How come these guys freak out every time you say, you know what, I think the Nets are better without Kyrie? Oh, that's crazy. That's what. Ask our friends in New England what they think of the guy. Is he a good player? Can he score? Yes. Is he a cancer? Can't debate it. Mm-hmm. They're 11-5 without him. Okay? There's already multiple reports about prickly pear. We got issues here with the Nets already. This guy's nuts. He's a little off. Problems.
I can't wait already for next year to see how it's going to go once Kevin Durant comes back.
Yeah.
Because KD he'll let you know how he's feeling about a guy. We knew that he did not like Draymond Green. We knew that for a long time. You could just tell by watching the body language, how the cameras were catching them on the over by the bench, right? And then it came out afterwards, I didn't care for the way he talked to me. You knew that. Mm-hmm. So this could absolutely go that same way. The Olympics.
He's a bad teammate. You can't debate it.
Yeah.
Chemistry is very important. Look at Boston. They had all that talent last year, and then it just didn't work because of Kyrie, and he was a bad teammate.
Well, I don't know.
And
how much more evidence you need.
The schedule's been easy, but it just drives me nuts when you watch these talking heads and that's ridiculous. You can't say that. Well, they're playing well without him. They've been great, and they made the playoffs last year without him, and it was about ball movement and team basketball.
Uh-huh.
So
that's like the least surprising thing to me so far in the NBA season is that the Celtics are better without the guy.
Yeah.
And they're at the very top now. There's actually a 3-way tie, I believe, Sixers, Celtics, Raptors right now, top of that division.
Having said that, though, I think the Spurs could be a good bet. 2.5 at home tonight. Pop has just got to light them up after they blew that game against Houston.
Yeah.
Just light them up in practice.
And Utah's laying 6 in Atlanta. I don't know. That might not be enough. Atlanta, boy, they're dreadful. We'll get into some Week 16 NFL props coming up next year. Follow the money.
Meet the crew. Parlay Pete, never make single bets, just multis. Next up, Nate, golf, tennis, boxing, plays whatever's coming. Finchy, only bets the over. And this is me, I've always got the answer.
However you bet, make today one to remember. Sports betting's lowest prices. -105 NFL spread lines. PointsBet. Bets you won't believe. Moments you'll never forget.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
What's your best gambling story? Heater?
I once
session?
I once doubled up 8 times in a row.
I was there. I saw
on
it.
a video poker machine over at the Palms.
Yeah.
I was down to like.
I'm like, what's that noise? It kept going. It wouldn't stop.
Yeah, I was down. I was
so
like,
many credits in it.
Yeah, so for the double up, boy, that double up has gotten me so many times though. But that was a good one, 8 times in a row. But the best one in a bad way, I've told the story on the air. When my buddy was playing video blackjack at a place in town years ago, he was up a couple thousand and he was doing the let it ride thing. And at some point, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's losing everything. I'm actually on the bar. I'm laying on the bar trying to yank. I'm like, get out of here. It's time to go. You were up thousands. Now you're just giving everything away. It's a bad story, but I'll never forget that. We were going to go to the Rhino, catch a limo to the Rhino that night. And he was like, that was his idea. I'm like, let's go. Instead, he gives all the money back, and we just left that spot like at 5 o'clock in the morning, just pissed off at each other. That was fun.
I was on a heater once at a local bar. It was jackpot after jackpot. I realized it was a 5-hour session. The waitress was a complete stranger. I tipped her $100 to drive to my house and get my dog because he had to be out. I mean, he was 5-6 hours. He's by himself. Yeah. She went and grabbed the dog. Never met her in my life. Gave her $100. Went home. Got the dog with the cage. He sat next to me while I continued the session, and I fed him sliders.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm in a bar with strangers.
That's a great story.
Then I had to go to the bathroom, and he didn't like the cage. I hear him howl. Ow! He's howling because he hates the cage. I'm like, oh, jeez. So these people are probably like, what the hell's going on? Because you can't see him around the corner.
That's an awesome
He's
story. Yep. The blackjack table we had at the Hard Rock for my bachelor party was the best blackjack table of all time with a group of guys from Chicago. This season, Omaha Steaks is sharing an amazing limited-time offer with our listeners and viewers to get a jump on your holiday shopping. Go to omahasteaks.com, put in the code Brent in the search bar to order the favorite gift package, the gift all of your friends and family will love, for only $69.99. Again, it's omahasteaks.com. Use the code Brent.
How about this tweet from Ryan Momo? He woke up and he realized, because he lost. He went to bed Monday night. He lost his fantasy. He woke up yesterday. He had the Eagles defense. They had a stat correction, gave him a sack.
Oh, that can happen.
So he won,
and now he's in the championship.
Yeah, because he got a sack.
Oh, the other person.
Merry Christmas.
Imagine how livid you are if you're the person who lost that.
Oh, man.
By the way, I'm in one of my leagues. I made the championship round. I got Lamar Jackson and Michael Thomas. Happened to luck out there with those two guys. But the team I'm taking on, I was the highest scoring team, but the guy I'm taking on had the best record. He came all the way back from, he was so far down on Monday night, but he had Drew Brees. He won by a point. And the other guy, in my opinion, has, careful what you wish for here, right? But the other guy, I think I could easily handle. This guy, he's beaten me twice so far this year. God, there's nothing more maddening on earth than fantasy football.
Yeah.
I love it, but I want to blow my brains out half the time.
Drake, 4 touchdowns. It's just great. How many people, I asked Paul in 2 hours, how many people won or lost because Gurley dropped the wide open 2-point conversion or the Eagles touchdown.
The Eagles touchdown could have done it, sure.
That's the guy.
Well, that guy right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
As he gets the sack. I got a lot of tweets on this yesterday. You did too. And people were gallivanting around the East Coast, FanDuel, other stuff. Documented. This Packer thing was 350 Monday.
Yep.
It's 1-10 at the Westgate, and it's higher in other spots. I looked at it. I did it yesterday. Well, here's one thing. What if Detroit gets blown out by the Broncos Sunday?
Okay, which could happen.
And the Packers lose Monday night, and then they really need the game to win the division because it's always, people say, must win. That might go to 13. It's 10 right now. What's that line? If Green Bay in Detroit gets blown out again?
It might go to 14.
So if you do I was just dancing around looking at it because we got Green Bay to win the division at a good price. Like a $200 parlay on Vikings money line and Lions money line pays like $1,100. It'll be a lot higher than that if that line goes to 13.
I think it will. I think it might touch 14 in that.
So that's
because you know how people are going to bet Week 17, and that will be the same thing with the Steelers-Ravens, like you said yesterday. But I will warn people: just because a team needs to win a game doesn't mean they're going to. And the Steelers against the Ravens, that number was around 3 for Week 17.
Yeah.
But I thought I saw Packers 350. I know I did, in fact, on Monday. I never thought to bet it because I already have them, I think, at minus 250 or 275 when you were talking about it a couple weeks ago.
When we talked about it, Mike Palm's right. When we said 250 is ridiculous, they have the tiebreaker. It should have been $5, $6, $7.
At that point, right. And then Phil, who is a loyal viewer here to VSiN, he went back and checked his receipts last night, and he said, Mitch, it was 350. I bet him at 350 on Monday. So some spots had that actually at 3. That was just off at that point. Some props that you can find right now, and we talked about this last week. I did not understand how John Harbaugh was still 5-1 to win Coach of the Year. Might not win it, but I said 5-1 when Shanahan was like the clear favorite. And now, I hope you got it. Somebody evidently did, because Harbaugh is now the favorite at 150, at least at one sports book. He's 150 to win this thing. McDermott, now plus 250. He's second on the list. Shanahan dropped from the favorite to 3-1. I don't know how Matt LaFleur is 9-1.
Yeah, right.
I guess the 11 wins will do that for you.
Yeah.
I would say Pete Carroll, 12-1, which should be higher on the list than LaFleur. Andy Reid, 16. Sean Payton, 16. How is Tomlin 20-1?
That's not. Is that real?
And Belichick's 33-1.
Ooh.
The top 4 guys for the award in any order should be Harbaugh, McDermott, Shanahan, and Tomlin. Tomlin can't be 20-1. Actually, is that worse than pizza money right now?
If they go 10-6,
might not win, but if they go 10-6, make the playoffs, he'll be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Defensive Player of the Year, Gilmore's now a $3 favorite.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with it.
After last week.
Yes. He hasn't allowed a touchdown, and he has 2 pick sixes. I mean,
other guys are going to have a case. I got Shaq Barrett at around 10 or 12-1. He leads the league in sacks. He's 15-2 right now. TJ Watt has a case. He's 7-1. And I know Pro Football Focus, they've been making a case for Hunter, the defensive lineman from Minnesota. His numbers are off the charts good.
Patriot game's down to 37. Who's scoring in that game? They're going to put White on Edelman, and White's so good. And the first game was 16-10, and it ended a block punt for a touchdown.
Yep.
And Allen's not accurate. And going against that defense, if there's, the only thing that could beat you there is turnovers, but
that can happen. They played Tom very well in the first time around.
Yeah.
What was he, like 19 of 39, I believe, in that range anyway, game 1? So they're tough. When they traded Gilmore to the Patriots, I saw this tweet earlier this week.
I thought they signed him.
They signed him?
No trade.
Okay, yeah, they never re-signed him. No. They used their first-round pick the following year to get White.
Okay.
And now they're they're still 2 of the best guys now in the NFL. Regular season MVP, it's over with. Jackson, minus $30 to win it.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, it's free money, though. Do
you think Russ has a case at all? Like I was saying earlier this week, if they go 13-3, if this team gets the 1 seed in the NFC, give Offensive Player of the Year to Lamar, give the MVP to
400 yards and 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Jackson's not going to play Week 17.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it.
He'd have to come out of nowhere and steal this from him.
Yeah, because he didn't play well on national TV against the Rams. I know. It's ridiculous. You imagine that? So that's it's a suitcase bet. They're going to get the 1 seed. Wilson's going to lead the way, not a talented group.
Yep. And his touchdown to INT is going to be one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't win the award.
Yeah.
The Offensive Rookie of the Year, we talked about this earlier. So good job on Twitter, as there was a Titans fan who pointed this out to me earlier in this week, and we looked at the numbers like, yeah, this makes sense. He got down on A.J. Brown at 33-1. That number is long gone. I saw as low as plus 750 last night to win this award now.
All right.
And Kyler Murray's 4-1. Jacobs is going to be out this week. All right. I think Murray and Brown are absolutely live. That was as of Monday. Look at that.
As of Wednesday night. What is this? Do you have that much power? Look at that.
Well, I also think that
Well,
you know what the answer is? Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay, yeah, my fault, of course.
Yeah.
Your grace.
Just assume that.
Well, you take a couple of bets on that, though. They're going to move that in a hurry.
Yep. Stat leaders, Jameis is minus $10 to win the season passing award.
What are the odds now Saturday? What is minus $3 to throw an interception?
We got to look for that.
Took 5 plays on Sunday. He's done it 5 times on the first drive. Oh, that's wild.
Will the NFL institute a sky judge for the 2020 season? Yes, minus 140. No's even money. I would consider. Well, they're so ancient in their thought process and their philosophies here. It's like baseball almost.
I'll give you one.
I would be open to everything.
I know. I'll give you a prop Saturday. Hopkins should tear up, go crazy against Tampa.
Oh, very true.
Hopkins should have a $150 easy.
Yep. I brought this up the other day. Will the Colts draft a quarterback in either of the first 2 rounds in the draft? Yes, plus 110. No, minus 150. So many teams are going to be in the market, it's going to make your head spin. What will Urban Meyer be doing next football season? TV analyst at Fox, $2 favorite. NFL coach 2-1. Coaching in college 5-1. None of the above 5-1. He's very good on TV. I'll tip my cap to him. I think he's been worth watching so far this year on Fox. Larry Fitzgerald's future retires is a $2 favorite. Cardinals plus 150. Other teams 3-1.
Jones looks like he's going to play for the Giants too. So I would think Eli's going to finish with a 500 record.
And you can bet on that.
Yeah. Oh, will Carr be the starter next year? Even money. Yes. No, minus 140.
There we go.
Yeah.
Another team.
Uh-huh.
How would you bet that right now? Would you lay the 40 cents?
I would.
I don't think Gruden likes the guy. I don't, and I don't think that you can actually move this franchise to Las Vegas and say, the guy that we've had now for the last 3 years, he's going to be the quarterback to lead us into the future. He's not very good.
I didn't care for his act on Hard Knocks either.
He was just the sound bites out of him. I got to be honest, he just sounds like a dummy.
Yeah.
I don't
care about your kids either. Take them somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, how about the stuff with Drew Brees on Monday night? Can we get another shot of the family, please?
You think the wife and her hot friends knew they were on television?
No. No, they had no idea.
Wait, they get a big glass of milk for that one.
So we got
hey, another hug.
We get the Brees family like 47 times on Monday night, but during the Super Bowl we get Giselle like once.
Yeah. How does that work?
Okay.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, will he lead the NFL in TDs and INTs? Yes, is 3-1. This can happen, folks, because he has 30 touchdown passes. Lamar has 33, but he's going to sit week 17. Mm-hmm. And he's first in INTs with 24. Next highest is 18.
Saturday's going to be great. Should be an aerial circus in that game. And the reports out of Carolina, the early practice with Greer went well. Well, what are they going to say? I mean, he stunk.
He's horrible.
He needed a diaper.
We're panicking.
Yeah.
We can't believe we drafted the guy.
He's 1.5 over plus 150. I could see that. He's 220 passing yards, too, as prop.
How surprised are you with what happened with Kyle Allen, though? First month or 5 weeks, like, this kid can play, man.
I know.
It was an upgrade from Cam Newton.
I know. Won 5 in a row, and now he's terrible and benched. Kept throwing interceptions. When in doubt, dump it off to McCaffrey. Come on. That's a problem.
Passing yards for Greer, 220.5. Yep. TD passes under 1.5.
I'd take the plus money there.
On the over?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
McCaffrey has some long runs. He throws it inside the 10.
That's another one, by the way. Time to shut him down, I would say.
Yeah.
Is he still on pace to break the all-time scrimmage record? I guess if that can happen, but you imagine you trot him out there week 16, week 17. Oh, look at this, knee problem. Can't believe we did that. Why? We have 5 wins. Why are you playing him, fellas? All right. It's Follow the Money here on VSiN. Mitch Moss along with Pauly Howard. Big show remaining here on the program today. Kenny White's going to join us in a little less than an hour. We have Bill Walkowski. He'll talk Last Man Standing. He created that event out here in Las Vegas many years ago. We are down to 2. Paul Charchian is going to join the program, fanball.com. We'll talk Week 16 fantasy with him. And up next, Paul Stone is going to join the program. We'll get some of his picks from this weekend through next Tuesday. And we've heard a lot of opinions on the SMU-FAU game. What does Paul think of it? We will ask him coming up next.
New to VEASAN? The best way to learn more about sports betting and how VEASAN can help you is to sign up for our free daily newsletter. Get an email every morning with news and betting resources plus our programming highlights. Go to VEASAN.com/newsletter. That's VEASAN.com/newsletter.
If you didn't catch VEASAN last week, here's some of what you missed.
On Saturday, in the first game, JVT is the most entertaining player in the NFL in action.
That's right. Jameis Winston taking on the Houston Texans and their porous secondary. Your look ahead was Tampa Bay -1, John. What'd you do with the adjustment?
You got the Tampa Bay Houston game's a pick. The total's 52.5 for you Jameis Winston fans out there. Kind of game that Houston usually wins on the road, and that Tampa Bay usually loses at home.
I guess the question here would be, do you think the Texans go off as slight favorites?
Probably. After that good win today, I think they probably do.
Let's watch out. Coming into today, Houston 27th against the pass, according to Football Outsiders. Jameis Winston, itchy trigger finger. Some shops on the screen right now have Houston as a 1-point favorite with a total of 53. So,
and the public is going to bet Houston, so I think Matt's probably on the mark there. Houston with a chance to win their division, get to the postseason. Tampa Bay is playing well right now, but they're not going to go anywhere.
So, I have a question for you because I actually talked to Jay Cornegay about this early this morning. The Sharps really like Tampa Bay, but it's usually on the road, right? When they come back home, it's usually a spot where they either stay away or maybe even play against them.
Generally speaking, that's been the case, but we saw some sharp money come in on the Bucs this week. Oh, that was on the road. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Usually they do, and Houston is usually another one. We talk about this all the time, Matt. They love to back the Texans on the road.
No doubt. Here you got a Buccaneers team that's going over the total every week, and a Bucs team that's not very good at home, and a Texans team that's in its best role here on the road. So I think that's the way people are going to handicap this game. And Texans need to win the AFC South, right? So it's the game means more for the Texans. I think that's the way people are going to bet it.
I cannot wait. Best game on the board this weekend.
Well, whatever the Winston game. So what are we going to do on Sunday if Winston's already played Saturday?
I might not go to the West.
Yeah,
I don't have a will to watch football.
I'm going to talk to the guys. I'm going to take Sunday off.
Okay.
What was I going to watch?
Are you going to go to Kohl's, or what would you do if Sunday off?
Kohl's is an option.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it's my first choice.
Target? Would you go to Target?
Sure.
Sears?
I think I'd need a better excuse than that, Matt. I don't think I could just say, hey, I'm going to Kohl's. I'm not coming in today.
Could you imagine somebody skipping work and saying that?
It's unfathomable.
I couldn't imagine
that.
that.
Circuit City.
I can't imagine it. These young guys don't even remember Circuit City. The young listeners
It's a good
out
reference,
there.
right?
Yeah, it's great.
Or Radio Shack.
Yeah. Sears.
This is Brent Musburger, and here is your VSiN action update. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
The Boston Bruins have won 6 of their last 7 games, but they've won 7 straight head-to-head with the New York Islanders in 12 of the last 14 meetings. Bruins another 70 favorite at the TD Garden against the Islanders today. The total 5.5 shaded to the under. College basketball today, number 7 Maryland on the road at Seton Hall. The Pirates have dropped out of the top 25 after back-to-back losses. Miles Powell, the leading scorer for Seton Hall, averaging better than 21 points a game, unlikely due to a concussion. Maryland, the 5-point road favorite. Milwaukee laying 4.5 at home against the Lakers to the fifth serve form. The total 226.5. Make sure you're ready for the College Bowl betting season with the 3rd annual VSiN College Bowl Guide. This 90-page digital magazine features stats, trends, and analysis for all 40 bowl games. It's VSiN's College Bowl Betting Guide, and it's just $14.99 at vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe. With your action update, I'm Mike Senna.
Get the latest VSiN odds at vsin.com. And remember, cash and tickets is what it's all about.
It's time to follow the money with your hosts, Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard.
It's good to have you on board. We'll talk college football, get some bets from Paul Stone coming up in less than 5 minutes. Let's do some NFL quickly before we get him on the horn, Paul. I want to throw this at you. This is from at Chiefs Reporter on Twitter. The Chiefs will play their 8th game of the season against a top 10 scoring defense on Sunday against the Bears, yet the Chiefs still rank 4th overall in the NFL offensively. Points per game, 28.1.
Impressive.
And recently the defense, I get it with the competition, but they allowed 3 to Denver, 16 to the Patriots, 9 to the Raiders, and 17 to the Chargers. Defense playing much better over the last month. If they just get completely healthy on offense,
Sign me up, right? I'll take Patriots, Chiefs in the divisional round, and then who? Baltimore, whatever? Houston? What do you want to see? Baltimore, Buffalo, maybe? Baltimore, Houston?
Yes, because I think Baltimore would smoke Houston. I think Buffalo in a rematch could play Baltimore, at least give them a game.
Baltimore, Tennessee wouldn't be bad.
Okay.
Could see that, too, that it's just going to be bonkos in the NFC. This was good, too, about Michael Lombardi again yesterday with my guys in the desert. Brent asked him about the Ravens and now the Super Bowl favorites. What does he think of Baltimore?
The secret weapon to me in all this is Justin Tucker. I think he's the difference. I mean, these games we know in the playoffs are all going to be 3-point, 4-point games. And some of these teams, when they trot their field goal kicker out, they're just praying that he's going to make the extra point. They're praying he's going to make a kick.
True.
Baltimore doesn't have those prayers. They don't have those prayers. Baltimore's advantage is twofold, Brett. They go for it on 4th down, and they're dangerous, right? You got to defend 4 downs with Baltimore's offense almost everywhere on the field. And secondly, they don't lose points with their field goal kicker.
Yeah,
they always make 3 points. Those two things are hard to beat come playoff time.
Yeah.
You know what I love about the 4th down stuff?
And there was the Monday night game, too. Remember, it was 3rd and 12. We'll just run it. Well, we pick up 11. Okay, Now we're going for it. 1st down leads to a touchdown.
If you watch the Ravens when they're in decent territory, like if it's going to be 3rd and 11, it's incomplete at their own 20, they're not going to go for it. But if you watch this team and you know it's going to be 4th and manageable at a decent spot on the field, the players don't even come off the field. They don't even look like, hey, are we going to punt right now? We're going to bring Tucker out here. It's just like they all go back to the huddle like we know we're going for it right now.
And I've seen it 3 times where Jackson has talked Harbaugh into going for it.
Yeah.
And they come right back out. Did it against Seattle. Did it against
the Rams, I think, yeah.
I think it did a couple times against the Rams, yes. And then I think in the 49er game. And that was a beautiful drive to win it against the Niners.
It was excellent. Yeah.
Shoot up 5-6 minutes, game-winning field goal, go home.
Again, a team to average 200 yards on the ground.
Yes.
And to average more than 200 yards passing per game, it's uncharted territory.
Now, I think if they meet again, the Patriots will shut the running game down. And then it'll be about Belichick will make Jackson beat him with his arm. We'll see if he can do it. But first things first, Patriots have to get there. And they got to win Saturday. They need the bye. They have to get the bye.
I think they could lose this game.
You sure they could? Again, it's a horrible spot for Buffalo, but
it is, yeah.
The way the offense struggled against Cincinnati. Bengals kept turning the ball over. Although maybe it's a big James White game. Huh? Throw it to my guy.
Well, who else do you trust in offense right now?
Well, if they're they got to put White on Edelman. You'd think jeez.
Yeah.
Maybe the running. You can run on Buffalo. Maybe McDaniels can dial up the running game.
Michelle and Burkhead.
Maybe
a 1-2 combination.
That's what I would do.
All right. Welcome into the program. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard. Let's talk some college football right now. Paul Stone joins the program. Excellent at handicapping this sport. You can follow him on Twitter. He is at Paul Stone Sports. You want to begin with some of the injuries and suspensions that we saw, Paul, in the college football playoff game between Oklahoma and LSU. How big do you think the 3 suspensions are to the Sooners? And now this injury to Edwards-Helaire, the running back for LSU, who because of Burrow, he went under the radar this year, but he is awesome. And I know we're a long ways away, but if he can't give it a go, what that would mean to this offense?
Yeah, good morning, guys. We'll start with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the junior running back there for LSU, rushed for, I think, between 600 and 700 yards last year. I think a lot of people coming into this season thought true freshman John Emery Jr., who's a big-time recruit, might be the Tigers' tailback, but instead Edwards-Helaire has been the guy from day one. 1,290 rushing yards this year, 6.5 yards per carry. Another thing that you can't underestimate as far as his contribution, guy catches the ball out of the backfield, 50 catches for almost 400 yards this year. So he's a multifaceted player and weapon for LSU. Got the hamstring injury, a touchdown machine as well, 16 rushing touchdowns. I think it's very impactful for them because that's obviously a lot of production. I think it's going to be difficult in general terms. If I had to guess whether he's going to be ready to play with a hamstring injury, I would say he's probably not going to play would be my best guess. Looking at his backups at the tailback position, Tyrone Davis-Price and John Emery Jr., aforementioned, both true freshmen. Price rushed for 270 yards, Emery for 182. So there's a significant drop-off there, and this would certainly hurt LSU's offense if Edwards-Helaire is not able to go. You look at Oklahoma, the 3 suspensions. The receiver, Bridges, that's not going to be a big loss. He only had 1 catch, I think, in the last 8 games. But the losses and likely suspensions of Oklahoma defensive end Ronnie Perkins on defense, and then backup running back Ramondre Stevenson, a junior from there in Las Vegas, both of those are critical losses for the Sooners. First of all, Perkins, team-leading 6 sacks, 13.5 tackles for loss. One of their guys up front, along with linebacker Kenneth Murray, who are kind of their disruptive forces in the front seven, if you will. His loss is going to be extremely significant. You've got an Oklahoma team that rushes the passer pretty well. They rank 20th in defensive sacks as far as percentage of sacks on passing plays, 8.4% of passing plays they get sacks. You take Perkins out of the equation, and now Joe Burrow, who doesn't really need any added advantages, he doesn't need any extra time. He's already completing 78% of his passes, and you take away the Sooners' best pass rusher, and that's really problematic for OU. And then the running back Stevenson, he's had a great year. He's rushed for, I think, a little bit over 500 yards. The backup to their starting running back Kennedy Brooks. So that's a blow as well. So these are significant losses on both sides in this LSU-Oklahoma game.
All right, fair enough. Good breakdown. Let's begin now with some of your bets that you have for this weekend. A lot of people have been talking and have had opinions on this SMU game taking on Florida Atlantic. And this morning, Paul, I am seeing SMU laying 3. Looks like the total is at 70, most shops, but I do see a 69 out there at one or two different spots. What are your thoughts on this game between these two teams?
First of all, on that total, there's some weather forecasts there in Boca Raton, so that total could potentially be coming down. One of the key storylines in this bowl game, obviously, Florida Atlantic head coach Lane Kiffin. He's found his way back to the SEC, relocating to Oxford, Mississippi, where he'll be the new head football coach at the University of Mississippi. You look at their interim coach for this game, Glenn Spencer, was the first-year defensive coordinator there at the FAU this season. Previously held the same post at places like Oklahoma State and Duke. He was the players. A lot of players lobbied for Spencer to be the permanent head coach, so the players support him. Ultimately, the administration fired head coach at Florida State, Willie Taggart. I guess that's another discussion for another day. Yeah. But Spencer's well-liked by the players. Something I looked at this week that was really interesting to me, you guys are familiar with Bill Connolly, as well as many of your listeners out there. Mm-hmm. He provides content for ESPN, presents a lot of interesting info and analytics. He penned an article this week on ESPN's website providing data really to support something I've always suspected. And in conclusion, in his words, quote, games with interims aren't any less predictable or more volatile than any other games. So what that comes down to is the fact it really doesn't matter. When we do our handicapping process, we say, they got an interim coach. Their head coach is gone. We're going to play against that team. But his data was very convincing, and I would urge people to look at that. And it provides some, again, interesting information in my mind. This game being played on Florida Atlantic's home field, I actually made this number Florida Atlantic -1.
Wow, okay.
I took them at +4 at Circa when they released the opening lines the Sunday before last. When I made that line, I will say that I didn't, at that time, Kiffin hadn't taken the Ole Miss job, but I did make the Owls a 1-point favorite. SMU, it's been a storybook season for the Ponies for the most part. They made an appearance in the wire service polls for the first time, I believe, in more than 30 years since they were given the so-called death penalty in the late 1980s. Started the year this season 8-0 before they lost at Memphis and then later lost at Navy in the second half of the season. And I'm sure, the Ponies are glad to be in a bowl game, but I believe this has got to be a little bit anticlimactic, if you will, to be playing a school from a lesser conference. Just a month and a half ago, you were playing at Memphis with ESPN's Game Day on hand and just a raucous atmosphere and just a big game. To me, there's no way this game matches up to that scene. You look at Florida Atlantic on the other hand, and they're going to be carrying the banner of Conference USA against an American Athletic Conference school, perceived to be the bigger conference, the better conference. I think Florida Atlantic's going to bring their full measure of what I call collective team psyche to the field this weekend. Take Florida Atlantic, take the 3 over SMU.
All right, very good. 7 bowl games Saturday, 2 FCS semifinals as well. This game's buried on CBS College Sports, the Cure Bowl in Orlando. Support for Liberty And we ran down their schedule, and their, not really saw great wins, but support for Liberty. Now Georgia Southern 4 and 58.5 the total.
Yeah, this is a Georgia Southern team playing their second straight bowl game under Chad Lunsford, who's in his second full season there as the Eagles head coach. You look at Liberty, meanwhile, they're in a bowl in just their second season competing in the FBS. So really interesting. And obviously Liberty's first season under the leadership of former Mississippi coach Hugh Freeze. You look at these schools, and offensively there are contrast in styles. Liberty and their quarterback, Buckshot Calvert, got to be one of the best. His given name's Steven, but that has to be one of the best nicknames in all of college football. They like to throw the ball. They throw it 54% of their plays. And then you look at Georgia Southern, and they're just the opposite. There's only 3 schools that throw the ball less than Georgia Southern. And you could probably guess that those 3 schools are Army, Navy, and Air Force. So Georgia Southern, like those service academies, they run a variation of the triple option. And you look at these schools in this bowl game on Saturday, as far as their defensive approach, neither school really defends the other's strength particularly well. Georgia Southern allows 8 yards per pass attempt. They rank 97th out of 130 teams in that category. Liberty struggled mightily against the run. They gave up an average of 5 yards per carry. They're in the bottom 30 of all of college football in that statistical category. One might be inclined with that information to look at the over, but again, like the SMU-FAU game, there's a chance, about a 50-50 chance of rain in that game. Winds perhaps in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range, so I would kind of back off that. Both these schools, as you kind of mentioned, they faced well below average FBS schools. Liberty's schedule was particularly weak, ranked by Jeff Sagrin to be the 132nd top schedule in all of college football. There are only 130 FBS teams, so some FCS teams played stronger schedules than Liberty, according to Sagrin. In final analysis, Liberty, they couldn't stop the run this year against conventional rush offenses. Now they've got to play a team that runs the ball better than those teams that they played during the regular season for the most part. And this is not a conventional rush offense. This is a triple option that now brings assignment football and discipline into the equation. I just think Georgia Southern is going to run all over Liberty. I think they're going to rush for maybe close to 400 yards. Wow. I don't agree with the line move. I like Georgia Southern. Lay the 4, take the Eagles over the Flames this Saturday.
Excellent. Follow the money here on VSiN. Paul Stone, great college football handicapper, our guest. You can follow him on Twitter. He is at Paul Stone Sports. So I don't know which side you like or the total potentially here in this Central Florida Marshall game, but I want to ask you this. You talked about how SMU, they were recently playing. Game day was there against Memphis. They might not be up for this game against FAU. Couldn't you say the same thing about Central Florida? Looking back, they've taken on 2 SEC teams the last couple of years in bowl games, and they beat Auburn a couple of years ago, talking all that trash. They played LSU tough for a minute last year before LSU took care of them. Now, what do you think it's like for this program and these players to go out there and say, oh, great, now we get Marshall. And, oh, by the way, Marshall has one of the best coaches in bowl games. And I'm seeing 17.5 the way it looks, Paul, now appears to be gone at most spots. But your thoughts overall on this game?
I'll tell you, this is kind of freaky because it's almost like you were in my mind, Mitch. You just said basically everything I was going to say. From my perspective, much of the handicap of this matchup comes down to motivation. And as you pointed out, on one hand, you have a Central Florida team that has been undefeated in the previous 2 regular seasons, 2017 and 2018. So in 2017, as we know, they play Auburn in the Peach Bowl as a 10-point underdog and upset Auburn 34-27. And then last year, after an undefeated regular season, they play LSU in the Fiesta Bowl, fight those guys tooth and nail, ultimately lose 40-32. But they're playing Auburn and LSU in bowl games in 2017 and 2018. So let's fast forward to this season. They lose 3 games in the regular season, does UCF. They don't win the American Athletic Conference. And now they don't get to play in Auburn or LSU in a major bowl. Instead, they're relegated to something called the Gasparilla Bowl. They get to play Marshall, and Marshall deserves respect. I mean, Doc Holliday's done a great job there. I think Marshall may be slightly disappointing this year, even though they finished 8-4. But Doc Holliday, as you pointed out, 6-0 straight up in bowls, 6-0 against the spread. That team has to feel disrespected. I think Marshall's, they played some good games this year. They won at Florida Atlantic 36-31 around midseason, had a good offensive game in that particular contest, gained 460 yards against Florida Atlantic, played Boise State close at Boise in week 2, lost 14-7, I believe there, only got beat by 7. I think they're going to be feeling disrespected. I think they're going to be much more plugged into this game. I can't see UCF being particularly motivated, and they're having to lay 17 points. I like Marshall taking 17 over UCF in this bowl game.
2 minutes, sir. Do you do anything with the FCS games? And all 4 quarterfinals last week stayed under, and they were all rocking chair winners.
I probably should, but again, we kind of get into our processes and what we look at. I look at FCS versus FBS matchups, primarily in the month of September, those first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. So I do concentrate on that in my early season handicap, but I really historically have not done very much at all with these FCS playoff games. Maybe I should because everything's an opportunity, but we only have so much time and so much energy, so that's something I really don't look at too extensively.
Okay.
All right. Follow him on Twitter. He is at Paul Stone Sports. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll talk to you next week, okay?
Man, great being with you guys, and let's let the bowls begin, and hope everybody has a great bowl season, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Excellent.
So I am seeing right now.
I don't get the Georgia Southern.
No, neither do I. just bet it again.
Yeah.
I had a -5. I'm going in again at -4. I'm seeing right now exact wins for conferences during the bowl season.
Why are places not putting these up?
I'm seeing it right now offshore.
I don't know what are we doing locally here?
I think they're up here.
Do they have them
I
here?
think they're up here at the South Point. I could be wrong on that, but I think.
I know Felica was talking about it on the podcast that he's coming out here because he's got the Las Vegas Bowls. He's having problems finding them. I mean, that's a great prop. I always see those every year.
So how many wins can...
by the way, Charlie, go ahead. You do this.
How many wins can the MAC get this year in the bowl season? So Buffalo's a favorite against Charlotte. Kent State plays Utah State. They're catching 7. Central Michigan takes on San Diego. They're in a bunch of bowl games. But Pittsburgh's a huge favorite against Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Western Kentucky, Western Michigan. Ohio, Nevada, Lafayette, Miami. For the MAC to win exactly 0 games, it's 36-1. Can that happen?
Yeah.
To win 1, they're plus 625. We don't like betting on that conference. Let me find the Pac-12. What are they? Pac-12 0 wins. Looks like 200-1. For the Pac-12 to win exactly 1 game, it's 26-1. Let's see here. They're going to be in a lot. I think Boise can beat Washington.
Sure.
It's not. Iowa can beat USC. Air Force can beat Wazoo. I'm going to talk myself into this. No wins.
William Hill has put up possible national championship games. They have LSU 1 over Clemson, and they have Ohio State 7 over Oklahoma. And LSU.
They put up LSU 1?
They got LSU 1. And they have LSU 1.5 against Ohio State.
That is surprising to me.
Those are up right now. Charlie M., America's favorite odds maker, checking in. Over under. When will Winston throw his first interception Saturday? Before or after 2:30 Eastern? I love the before. I love it. I love the before.
Game starts at 1 o'clock Eastern?
Yeah, 1 o'clock Eastern. Yeah.
So before
you get the whole half. You get the first half.
Basically, he's going to throw one.
It's a bad number, Charlie. Charlie, it's a bad number, my friend. Charlie, give me the limit before. Charlie, over before. I love it. $3 to throw an interception. Took 5 plays Sunday. 5 plays. It's like the guy tweeted. He's done it 5 times this year on the first drive. It's like he needs it to get him going.
Yeah. Do you want a little Mountain West Conference? 0. They're in 7 bowl games.
Yeah.
To win 0, it's 160-1. All right. NFL line moves coming up next year. Follow the money.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
The Detroit Lions and the Denver Broncos. This is This is a really interesting spot. So your guys' look ahead over at the Superbook, John, was Denver minus 6.5. Both of these teams coming off losses in which they did not look great. But what do you make in the adjustment? What's the line now?
We reopened at 6 this evening. We're back up to 6.5. So we've been pushed back up a little bit on this game. Total of 38. So clearly we don't make much of the two quarterbacks in this game, Blau and Locke. They both struggle today, let's say that. Tough spot for Locke, though, on the road in that snowstorm. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. So, Humans, what do you make of this? Because you had the note in the last hour, for those who missed it, coming into today, Broncos were 7-2 against the number in their previous 9 games before failing to cover against Kansas City. Locke, you can't deny that Locke had showed promise in the 2 games prior, but you are playing in Denver, which we could have the chance of inclement weather yet again for the young quarterback.
Yeah, you could. It's interesting when you look at the Lions because this team actually had played well in the first month, right? And I think it was Kurt Warner of the NFL Network who tweeted that the Lions, he had watched tape and he said the Lions were the best team in that division. Yep. Right? And they are sitting there right now, 3-10-1. So it's been a pathetic last couple months for the Lions. I'm not sure what this team's playing for at this point. And at least Drew Lock and the Broncos, they feel like they're trying to find out if he's going to be next year's starting quarterback. Is he going to be the franchise quarterback? So a little bit more incentive on the Broncos side. 2 putrid performances for both of these teams. Oakland on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is great. Chargers on the look ahead, John, was minus 6.5. What do we have on the open today?
Right now, the Chargers are a 5-point favorite. There's a total of 47. It's a hard game to know what to do with. Is this a letdown spot for Oakland after they lost the last game in the Coliseum? Do either of these teams care? Yeah. Are the Raiders fans going to show up in L.A. to support the team? My guess to that one's probably yes, because the Raiders have a great fan base. Well, after what happened today with the Raiders in the last game of the Black Hole, I think their fans probably even got to be a little bit dispirited. Sure. And, if you look at the Chargers in this spot, too, JVT, is this going to be Phillip Rivers' final game? This is going to be his final home game as a Chargers quarterback, you would think, right? Yeah. So it's going to mean something, I would think, to Phillip Rivers, and the Raiders got to be a little bit flat just after what happened. That's just a ridiculous loss today by the Raiders, and I don't know, now that team has lost, was it 5 in a row? Yeah, I believe they were 6-4. Now they're 6-8. I think they lost 6 and 8. Lost 4 in a row, and to lose the final game in the Black Hole the way they did today, I think it would be kind of hard to motivate that team next week. And this being Phillip Rivers' likely final home game as a Chargers quarterback, I think I would have to look that direction, but I really don't want to touch the Chargers game at this point.
If you're looking for last-minute presents, give the gift of choice from the VSiN store. We have gift certificates for the shirts and hats we sell in the store, or make them a smarter sports bettor and buy them a VSiN subscription. Go to vsin.com/store today. Again, vsin.com/store. That's the link. That's the website. Go check it out. Some NFL line moves. By the way, we'll get back into that college football stuff and what I'm seeing. I think the Big 12 0 wins is live.
Interesting.
Plus 635.
Yeah, good rundown. Might come down to K-State.
I think K-State could beat Navy, sure. But look at this. I wish it was a higher number. But plus 635 right now, Big 12 0 wins. A&M 7 over Oak State. Notre Dame's favored over Iowa State. LSU 13-14 against Oklahoma. Navy is a couple against K-State. Utah's laying a touchdown against Texas. And then Georgia Baylor. Plus 635 I'm seeing right now. No wins.
Like it.
I'll do the math on a parlay.
Yeah.
And see what that pays too.
Yeah. Good.
NFL line moves this weekend.
Good tidbit, too, about the weather. We'd be looking at weather maybe with the Florida. Because the game, Orlando has got the Cure Bowl, Florida Atlantic game. And then we know what's going to happen with the Bahamas here. Maybe. Because, these guys are just guessing, these weather guys. But the Bahamas, I'm seeing 60% chance of rain and 25-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow.
Okay.
To start it off.
So what is your plan overall for Saturday? How do you
I don't have enough TVs.
No.
I know. Mike Palm was incredulous. He goes, you coming down? I go, no, too many games. He goes, what? God. But I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. It's tricky.
I have 3 TVs.
That's not
enough.
And
I have 2 laptops.
And you have a phone.
Yes.
so you can track scores on that. That's still probably not going to be enough.
I got the NFL game on the big screen, and then I'll have I'll have 2 college, and then I'll have to kick one of the games out. God, and what do I do with the North Dakota State if that gets into it? I mean, we got 12 football games.
That's why you got to be active on the phone as well, tracking all these scores, and then you have the remote, and then bam, you got to go back and forth.
See, this San Diego State game should start at 9 a.m., not 11. San Diego State, you got an 11,
yeah, but it's New Mexico,
and a 12:30.
That'd be at 10 o'clock local time.
Yeah, well, let's get some meth. Breaking Bad. So 11, 11:30, 12:30. Yeah, and then the Houston game, Houston-Tampa goes at 10 a.m.
10 o'clock.
And then you roll right into the Patriots. That is beautiful.
So is this number now in the Houston game exactly where it should have opened at 3?
I agree with that.
Okay.
You might argue it should be higher. I mean, Tampa's on a roll, but it's a mash unit.
They got a lot of injuries now. But I would
Houston better win this game. I don't want to have to come down to week 17. Here comes Tennessee again. You just played them, and that was kind of a squirrely game.
Here's the thing with this team in the AFC. In terms of reliability, where would you rank them amongst the top teams right now?
Oh, yeah, they're in.
That'd be in the
you don't know what you're going to get.
I think
you show up, you got the outfits on, you beat the Patriots on Sunday night, and then you get humiliated by Denver.
Yep.
That was 31-3, rookie quarterback.
Paul, I would say the Bills are more reliable because what you see is what you get. With the Texans, it's up here one week and then 31-3 at halftime against the Broncos at home. I mean, are you kidding me?
I would be concerned about Buffalo with the spot, the travel, another road game, short week, Sunday night into Saturday morning, and then you didn't take care of the ball. I mean, if Allen's turning it over and Singletary with the fumbleitis, then you're really going to get blown out by New England.
Well, and then they can thank Duck Hodges for throwing that many INTs as well. He was not good in that game on Sunday night. So Texans now 3 at Tampa Bay. Chargers are up to 7 against the Raiders.
Yes.
Up to a full touchdown now. And, you want to lay 7 with this team?
Well, where are their heads at? They blow the game against Jacksonville. No Jacobs, no Brown. I mean, the Chargers they just embarrassed themselves.
Does it matter?
If they have any kind of pride.
Does it matter that 90% of the fans there are going to be wearing silver and black? But who knows? Watch this.
That's every game, though.
This stadium and Phillip Rivers does not cover games at home at all, going back to last year. But this stadium holds, what is it? Is it 28,000 people?
Something like that.
There's a chance that this game could have, 15,000 people in the stands? If the Raiders fans are just like, screw it, I'm done for the year.
What is going to happen?
On to Vegas.
What is going to happen next year? They're having all kinds of issues selling PSLs and with the new stadium. I mean, are they gonna get a brand new stadium and have empty seats? What does that hold, John? Look that up. That's SoFi.
60 plus.
What are they going to have empty seats? Brand new stadium? What a disaster this is.
Horrible idea.
No one cares.
I know. Denver's up to 7 against Detroit. I 100% agree with that move.
Injuries on the defense, Scarborough, and they've lost 9 to 10 of 11, whatever is 9 to 10.
Yeah. And the primetime games, Chiefs up to 6, Vikings up to 5.5. We said this last week. There are going to be so many teasers written this week, you're not going to be able to keep count.
Yep.
Great NHL card coming up tonight. We'll talk about all the betting numbers coming up next.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
The Detroit Lions and the Denver Broncos. This is a really interesting spot. So your guys' look ahead over at the Superbook, John, was Denver minus 6.5. Both of these teams coming off losses in which they did not look great. But what do you make in the adjustment? What's the line now?
We reopened at 6 this evening. We're back up to 6.5. So we've been pushed back up a little bit on this game. Total of 38. So clearly we don't make much of the two quarterbacks in this game. Blau and Locke, they both struggle today, let's say that. Tough spot for Locke, though, on the road in that snowstorm. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. So, Humans, what do you make of this? Because you had the note in the last hour, for those who missed it, coming into today, Broncos were 7-2 against the number in their previous 9 games before failing to cover against Kansas City. Locke, you can't deny that Locke had showed promise in the 2 games prior, but you are playing in Denver, which we could have the chance of inclement weather yet again for the young quarterback.
Yeah, you could. There's It's interesting when you look at the Lions because this team actually had played well in the first month, right? And I think it was Kurt Warner of the NFL Network who tweeted that the Lions, he had watched tape and he said the Lions were the best team in that division.
Yep.
Right? And they are sitting there right now, 3-10-1. So it's been a pathetic last couple months for the Lions. I'm not sure what this team's playing for at this point. And at least Drew Lock and the Broncos, they feel like they're trying to find out if he's going to be next year's starting quarterback. Is he going to be the franchise quarterback? So a little bit more incentive on the Broncos side. 2 putrid performances for both of these teams. Oakland on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is great. Chargers on the look-ahead, John, was -6.5. What do we have on the open today?
Right now, the Chargers are a 5-point favorite. There's a total of 47. It's a hard game to know what to do with. Is this a letdown spot for Oakland after they lost the last game in the Coliseum? Do either of these teams care? Yeah. Are the Raiders fans going to show up in L.A. to support the team? My guess to that one's probably yes, because the Raiders have a great fan base. Well, after what happened today with the Raiders in the last game of the Black Hole, I think their fans probably even got to be a little bit dispirited. Sure. And, if you look at the Chargers in this spot, too, JVT, is this going to be Phillip Rivers' final game? This is going to be his final home game as a Chargers quarterback, you would think, right? Yeah. So it's going to mean something, I would think, to Phillip Rivers, and the Raiders got to be a little bit flat just after what happened. That's just a ridiculous loss today by the Raiders, and I don't know.
Meet the crew. Parlay Pete never makes single bets, just multis. Next up, Nate, golf, tennis, boxing, plays whatever's coming. Finchy only bets the over. And this is me. I've always got the answer.
However you bet, make today one to remember. Sports betting's lowest prices. -105 NFL spread lines. PointsBet. Bets you won't believe. Moments you'll never forget.
The VSiN College Bowl Betting Guide is out. It's available right now. You can get stats, trends, analysis for all 40 bowl games for $14.99 at vsin.com/subscribe. 10 of the VSiN experts are going to give out their best bets for the entire bowl season. You're going to get Brent Musburger and Point Spread Weekly editor Steve Makinen head-to-head for the 3rd consecutive year, taking a position on every single side and total for every single game. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. It's $14.99 for the VSiN College Bowl Betting Guide. NHL coming up tonight. Islanders on the road against the Bruins. Both these teams coming off losses. And Boston laying as high as $1.85 this morning here in Las Vegas. Total in the game, Pauly, 5.5.
Well, the problem has been they're playing bad they're struggling against these bad teams. Yeah. They got beat by the Kings, Ottawa, Chicago. Islanders off the 8-3 drubbing at home against Nashville. They're 19-1-1 when they score 3 goals in regulation. But as you heard in the update, Boston's beat them 7 in a row and 12 of 14. But they have to get going here as they're in a bit of a funk, 1-4-2 overall with the Bruins. So, but that's pretty steep considering how they're playing, and then the Islanders should be ticked off tonight.
I would say so.
Embarrassed. I mean, Trotz couldn't believe it. They gave up 8 goals in a game.
You can catch that team right now more than plus 160 the way it looks in some spots.
Check it out on NESN. The guys do a great job with Jack. And this is from the doesn't make any sense department. Chicago's on a back-to-back. They've lost at home to Colorado last night. The Blackhawks are 6-1 on back-to-backs. And the Jets are $1.85 at home tonight.
Well, how's that travel for them, though? From Chicago overnight to Winnipeg, and they play a game again?
That's strange. And Colorado's at home against Carolina, and they're hot. Carolina's on a 5-1 run. But Colorado's 9-1-1, too. Vegas flew in action. The Wild in Arizona. The Wild they're 2-0 against Arizona this year, and Arizona's $1.45, but the Vegas flew now on a nice run.
I have updated numbers here. So coming into this season, it's the team after their immediate game after playing here in Las Vegas, wherever it was, whoever they play against. It was 29-53 coming into this year. It's 5-11 this season. Vancouver lost this week after playing and getting beat here in Vegas on Sunday night.
But 10 of the 11 wins, puck line.
Yeah.
And that's a juicy price. It's plus 175.
Yep. So overall, last 2 years, 34-64, including the 5-11 mark this season.
Jeez. That is wild.
Did you see? Was that a pun?
Good call.
I believe we had a pun there.
Okay.
The Avalanche, by the way, they went over again first period against Chicago.
Yeah.
So that's now 25 and 10, I believe, updated today.
I got it. Hold on. Yep. 20. No. Yes. Okay. Is it 24?
No, I think it was 20. It was 24 going into last night.
I think you're right. 25 and 10. And Calgary is at home. They're 25 and 11 to the under. They're at home against Montreal.
Okay.
Third period. Tampa's at home. Tampa's 26 and 6 to the over. Third period. Also in play. Goal in the first 10. At home, Tampa's 13 and 4, and the Coyotes lead the way at 14 and 3.
Wow.
14 and 3. That's in action. Overall, goal in the first 10. Flyers 25 and 9. They're at home. Colorado leading the way too there.
Okay. So on this Tampa game, they're laying $1.65 against Dallas. So the take back at William Hill, CG, Circa right now, and others is plus 145. It's the first of a back-to-back for the Stars tonight. And this Tampa Bay power rating remains, absurdly high, and they were laying more than $4 and barely won against Ottawa.
I like the under. Dallas is 24-10 and 1 of the under on the season. I think 6 is too high.
Okay.
In this game with the Stars. The Flyers are 11-2 and 4 at home, and they're $1.45 against Buffalo. I would lean the Flyers in that one. Buffalo's good at home. They struggle on the road.
Yeah, and this is the final game of a 3-game road stretch for the Sabres. And they lost the first 2, so they need a win tonight to avoid this sweep on the road. But Flyers, as you can see, laying $1.45 here at the South Point today.
What do you think of the Knights? They're playing well. They're $1.25 in Vancouver. They are 8-0-1 all-time against the Canucks.
I think they're a little short tonight.
They start a 2-game roadie. They have this game, then they go to San Jose, and there's a quick home game, I think, for the long Christmas break.
You can get them $1.30. The overnight line over at the Westgate, they're going to open up here in a little bit, but it was $1. It was 20 cents on Vegas tonight. You're right. Probably, playing the best hockey of the season so far?
Boy, they have really fallen back on a goal in the first 10. What did that start out? 10-0 at home. Ooh.
Yeah, it was automatic.
It's 12 and 7 now. And overall, they're near the bottom. They're 20 and 17. Could be one early tonight, though. I think I think they'll be one in the first 10 against Vancouver. And remember, William Hill and the Circle put up first 5.
Yep. What do you think of Nashville laying $1.45 tonight against the Senators?
Yeah,
it's on the road.
Yeah, it seems short.
Coming off that 8-3 win against the Islanders that we talked about.
Montreal's playing well. They're a roller coaster team. They're totally up and down.
I would agree.
And Calgary's only $1.35 at home. Now taking a little money as well. Yeah. Good card, though.
Strong. Good matchups. Yeah. Good, the 7 o'clock games out east, 4 o'clock out here. At the same time, we get Dallas, Tampa, Buffalo, Philly, and New York and Boston all going at it. That is tremendous. Late night game's not bad either.
You got to lean in the Bucks game. Milwaukee 5, the big one against the Lakers. Good doubleheader. Only 4 games, but it's a good doubleheader on TNT.
Sure, I'll lean Milwaukee. Lay the points with the Bucks at home. Coming off of a loss. You know what this team's been like the last couple of years off of a loss.
Yep.
They take teams out in a body bag.
And I like the Clippers, laying 5 at home against Houston. Clippers 14 and 1 at home.
And I like Clippers first half on top of that.
Could be even better.
They're laying 2.5 at home in this spot. But the doubleheader tonight on TNT, awesome, good job by that NBA, by that NBA, right? Knowing that this was the first week without Thursday Night Football in the NFL. Here we go. Let's plug in 2 games that are going to be awesome. And I'm guessing the ratings tonight, because the Lakers with LeBron are actually going to be in a good time for East Coast viewers, probably the highest rated NBA game of the season tonight, Lakers and Bucks. Now, how do you, when you look at their common opponents so far, the Mavericks have wins over both teams.
On the road.
That's correct.
They won. Yeah,
and they lost the game to the Lakers the first time they played in overtime at home.
Might have been the game of the year. Luka was Superman, and so was LeBron. Mm-hmm. That game was fantastic.
Bucks have a loss against the Heat, but the Lakers swept the Heat this year. That game recently in Miami was a 3-point game, 113-110, I want to say. But not often are you going to get 24-4 versus 24-4 in this league.
What do you think about LeBron saying, no load management for me. I got to be out there. There are kids who are watching me maybe for the first time, or he's done it in the past, though. It was a bizarre comment. Because you can keep receipts on this stuff and just go back. LeBron, I saw all the tweets. LeBron out, load management. LeBron not playing. Remember the one game he was drinking wine on the bench.
That's right.
Coffee was with Cleveland. He's like a coffee on the bench.
Remember that 2-week stretch that he took off at the beginning of the year not too long ago?
He just went to Miami, hung out with D. Wade.
And people are like, what's going on here? Is he injured? Nope. He wanted 2 weeks off. They gave it to him. Well, let's be honest. Until last year's injury, right? He's been like he's had the best, as an athlete, like the best body in terms of not getting hurt I've ever seen in my life.
I don't
to play 15, 16 years like this.
The doctors and the team guys are saying this is the way to do it.
I know.
This is how you do it.
More college football bets with Kenny White coming up next.
Last week, here's some of what you missed.
On Saturday, in the first game, JVT is the most entertaining player in the NFL in action.
That's right. Jameis Winston taking on the Houston Texans and their porous secondary. Your look ahead was Tampa Bay -1, John. What'd you do with the adjustment?
You got the Tampa Bay Houston game's a pick. The total's 52.5 for you Jameis Winston fans out there. Kind of the kind of game that Houston usually wins on the road and that Tampa Bay usually loses at home.
I guess the question here would be, do you think the Texans go off as slight favorites?
Probably. After that good win today, I think they probably do.
Let's watch out. Coming into today, Houston 27th against the pass, according to Football Outsiders. Jameis Winston, itchy trigger finger. Some shops on the screen right now have Houston as a 1-point favorite with a total of 53.
And the public is going to bet Houston, so I think Matt's probably on the mark there. Houston with a chance to win their division and get to the postseason. Tampa Bay is playing well right now, but they're not going to go anywhere.
So I have a question for you because I actually talked to Jay Cornegay about this early this morning. The Sharps really like Tampa Bay, but it's usually on the road, right? When they come back home, it's usually a spot where they either stay away or maybe even play against them.
Generally speaking, that's been the case, but we saw some sharp money come in on the Bucs this week. Oh, that was on the road. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Usually they do, and Houston is usually another one. We talk about this all the time, Matt. They love to back the Texans on the road.
No doubt. Here you got a Buccaneers team that's going over the total every week, and a Bucs team that's not very good at home, and a Texans team that's in its best role here on the road. So I think that's the way people are going to handicap this game. And Texans need to win the AFC South, right? So it's the game means more for the Texans. I think that's the way people are going to bet it.
I cannot wait. Best game on the board this weekend.
Well, whatever the Winston game. So what are we going to do on Sunday if Winston's already played Saturday?
I might not go to the West.
Yeah,
I don't have a will to watch football.
I'm going to talk to the guys. I'm going to take Sunday off.
Okay.
What was I going to watch?
Are you going to go to Kohl's, or what would you do if Sunday off?
Kohl's is an option.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it's my first choice.
Target? Would you go to Target?
Sure.
Sears?
I think I'd need a better
Sears
excuse than that, Matt. I don't think I could just say, hey, I'm going to Kohl's. I'm not coming in today.
Could you imagine somebody skipping work and saying that?
It's unfathomable.
I couldn't imagine
No,
that.
Circuit City.
I can't imagine it. These young guys don't even remember Circuit City. The young
It's a
listeners
good
out there.
reference, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Or Radio Shack.
Yeah. Sears.
Back on Follow the Money here on VSiN, Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard. We're live in Vegas, South Point Sportsbook. Kenny White joins the program now. His website is kennywhitesports.com. Thanks for the time as always, Kenny. You made a comment to us back in August, I think, when your magazine was published and it was finally out. And we asked you what's your favorite time of year to bet. And I think your answer back then was actually betting totals during the NBA Summer League out here in Las Vegas. Where does the bowl season rank for you overall?
Yeah, I think that was the most and I didn't get a chance to bet it last year because working on the magazine. But yeah, I got to believe that I'm looking forward to this like kids are looking forward to opening presents in the next couple days. That the bowl season's starting. Kind of, I feel like the same way. I feel like maybe even doing the show with you now in the morning on a Thursday, and we're bowl seasons tomorrow. It's like bowl season eve.
So what are some of we have the whole list right now in front of us. This is great. A couple of pages here printed off. Some of your favorite trends or angles that you like to look at when it comes to breaking down these bowl games.
Yeah, coaching's so big, obviously, in sports. So that's, the number one thing I started. But you can't rely on it completely because there's opposite sides of every story. Last year, the top 5 coaches went 4-1-1 ATS. And the bottom 5 coaches went 0-5. So if you just bet coaching angles last year, you're 9-1-1 in your bowl games. This year, the top 5, David Holliday of Marshall, he might be the best spot of all. He's 6-0 in bowl games. He's up against the Central Michigan team, or Central Florida team who finished the season 2-7 ATS their last 9. The other one's got a little difficult road. Dabo Sweeney, 10-4 ATS. He's up against Ohio State. It's not the old coach, but it's Ryan Day now with no experience. Kyle Whittingham, one of the top guys, 8-4. He's up against Tom Herman, who always does a great job as a dog. Brian Harrison from Boise's 4-1, but he's up against Chris Peterson, a coach retiring, where coaches who retire 8-2 ATS in their bowl games. And then Kirby Smart's up against the Baylor team, who's 5-0 ATS in their last 5. So, those are great coaches, but they've all got something maybe opposite against them. So you can't bet any of this stuff blindly. You've got to put it all together, kind of put the check marks in place, and then come up with your plays.
Yeah, who are some of the worst coaches, by the way, come bowl season?
Yeah, Rod Carey from Northern Illinois. He hasn't won a bowl yet. He's 0-6, and he's at Temple. He's up against North Carolina and Mac Brown, who knows how to prepare for a bowl game. Then Mike Leach. His teams have really struggled in bowl games, 5-10, and they're up against Air Force. We'll get to another trend on that later in the show that's been very, very profitable. Mike and Brian Kelly from Notre Dame, just 3-8 up against an Iowa State team who absolutely loved coming into the season. And if it wasn't for 3 games that they lost by a total of 6 points, Iowa State could have been in the Big 12 championship game. They're that good. So those are some good ones. Dana Holgerson of Houston, he's not in a bowl. He's 1-6. Blake Anderson's just 1-4, and he's up against a Florida International team.
Hey, Kenny, why am I not surprised to see Clay Helton's 0-3 all time?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I'm amazed he got another year. I don't know how he does it. He must have a great personality.
Yes, we'll go with that. What else do you have in terms of teams that are coming off seasons where they were terrible, maybe having 0 wins overall in the regular season, or 1 win, and then they come back the next year and they're bowl eligible?
Yeah, pay attention, Pauly. Come on. Teams that have won just 1 game or less, 1 game or 0 since 1980. There hasn't been a lot of them because it's hard to do. It's hard to turn a program around that fast. Jim McElwain turned around Central Michigan, but it's happened 15 times. And those teams have covered the spread in their bowl game 12 of the 15 times. So that's a 12-3 trend. And then teams that have won 3 or fewer games the previous season, the last 3 years are 16-2. And there's 4 of those. Obviously, Central Michigan's in that mix. Kent State, Louisville, and Georgia State all fit that criteria. So these teams aren't just happy they had a great season and finally got back to a bowl game. They actually do well in the bowl as well.
The first time you were on when we went through the matchups, you were talking about how big you keyed on rushing yards. And you have some incredible trends with rushing your opponent.
Yeah, I broke down the stats, and I've always known this. I've used this stat always. When you can get a team to rush for 200 yards or more, and they'll double their opponent. So if you can get 200 rushing yards, your opponent 100 or less, you're going to win that football game 70% of the time. If you can triple that, 300 to 100 or less, 300 more yards or 100 or less, you're going to win that 74% of the time. And there's really some really top plays in the bowl games. I gave you the entire list of teams. These are all from my model that projects how many rushing attempts the team's going to get in the game, how many yards per carry they're going to get against the opponent they're playing, and then that opponent, how many yards they're going to get. There's only a couple qualifiers, and they're pretty easy and make common sense. Georgia Southern, who runs the triple option, they're going to rush for 277 yards to 132 for Liberty. That's a 70% qualifier. And then also Air Force. You know they're going to get their 300 rushing yards against Washington State. Just talked about Mike Leach, how he doesn't do well in bowl games. And Washington State's not going to run the football. I only have them projected for 59 rushing yards. That's 5 times the amount of rushing yards. Air Force is a 74% qualifier. Navy, we know they're going to run for yards, 354 against Kansas State to 166. That's a 70% qualifier. Utah comes close against Texas. But then again, you got Tom Herman on the other side. So again, you got to use it to your advantage and use it in your handicapping, but you can't use it for gospel.
Well, how about, okay, so that makes sense. How about, but this doesn't make sense. What's this to outgain yards per play during the regular season, but they have a tremendous bowl record?
Yeah, that's last year I looked that up. I saw somebody brought that to my attention that, hey, these teams right here have been outgained during the regular season yards per play. And there was 11 teams that had a bowl game that had a negative yards per play during the regular season. Those 11 teams went 10-1 ATS in their bowl games. That just shows you how well dogs do. And there's 9 teams this year that have that stat that have been outgained yards per play. Nevada, Georgia State, Boston College, Kent State. We talked about them twice now. Kansas State, Georgia Southern, who we just talked about, Miami of Ohio, and then there's Illinois and California, but they're playing each other. So amazing. 10-1 they went last year, ATS.
Boy, that is funky. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm guessing you brought up Kent State twice, as you said. You really like Kent State then in their bowl game, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I do. And distractions I hate for teams. I love to bet against teams with distractions. We know, and we have no idea if Jordan Love's going to play or not. I mean, it looks like he is the way the line's sitting there at 6.5. But would it shock you if they came out tomorrow and said, hey, we're going to suspend him for the first half or suspend him for the game?
Okay, so another game here that qualifies, I believe. And I don't think that, we definitely don't agree with the line move. We just had Paul Stone on. He doesn't agree with it. Why do you think the Georgia Southern game against Liberty is now down to 4?
I am shocked. I have no idea. This team's really well coached, and as I mentioned, I love to be able to find a team when trying to project that, a team that's going to double up their opponent in rushing yards. I absolutely can guarantee, I will bet anything, Georgia Southern will double up Liberty in rushing yards in this game. They run the ball too well. Liberty's defense will be broken down in this game, and that's another, it's another trend I looked at. For years, I used to always bet against Army, Navy, and Air Force in a bowl game because I said, you know what? Teams have 3 weeks to prepare for that triple option. Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't matter. Triple option teams are 22-16 ATS. It's not a great record, but it is a winning ATS record. So, yeah, I think Georgia Southern will control the football on the ground. Don't think Liberty can stop them running the football.
Doesn't the Air Force Wazoo game kind of remind you of the matchup we had last year? And I know Houston was in a really bad spot last year. They were not playing good football. But that Army-Houston game we got in a bowl game where Army they scored 70 and Houston was kind of like an aerial assault compared to, and they didn't have De'Aaron King anymore, obviously. But doesn't it kind of have the same feel to it this year?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a rout, but it'll be a fun one to watch. Air Force is going to have their way on the ground. That offensive line is so seasoned, and they've got so many good running backs, and the quarterback's outstanding running the show. They'll get their 300 yards. We know that, but Washington State, completely different animal. They're going to be able to pass the ball in Air Force. That's one advantage they're going to have, but I would much rather have the team that's going to get 4-5 yards a pop, and they're going to wear down that Washington State defense. And it might get to the point where they frustrate the Washington State offense because they're on the sideline so long.
Yeah. So what are your favorite 2 or 3 bowl games maybe this weekend or the next 5 or 6 days?
Yeah, and I mentioned dogs in bowl games are amazing. That dogs of 3 or more, just betting them blindly, 179 and 144 the last 10 years, 55%. And last year they went 16-8. But you would have lost your first 4. You would have started out bowl season 0-4 taking dogs of 3 or more, but you would have finished on a 16-4 run. And then double-digit dogs blindly, 47-20, up 25 units over the last 15 years. So I'm looking for dogs, but when I say that, I can't just go blindly off that. So one play I like this weekend, I like Buffalo, and they're -6.5. And I think it has a lot to do with the Charlotte 49ers defense has allowed 5 yards a carry on the year, 8 yards per pass. And Buffalo's really well coached. The coach, Lance Leopold, came from Wisconsin Whitewater. I'm sure you two guys probably are very familiar with him. 6 national titles there. And he's been at Buffalo 5 years now. He's improved the program every year. He was very unfortunate. They were in a couple of games this year. They got just a little unlucky. They are the best team from the MAC, and I think that they'll do very well in this game against Charlotte.
30 seconds on this. There was a big move on North Dakota State. They didn't cover, and the 4 quarterfinals stayed well under the total in the FCS. Are you looking at those semis?
Yeah, I haven't done any work on him yet. I'll give you one college basketball play today, though.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
William and Mary. Dane Fisher just came in, first year at William and Mary. He's 8-2 ATS. This guy can really coach. He came from George Mason, and he's got a senior-laden team, so that's why they're playing well. But 8-2 ATS, they're up against the St. Joe's team who plays absolutely no defense. The 3 of us could go play better defense than they do.
Okay.
Right, very good.
Okay, thanks, Kenny.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Nice jacket.
It's
a
very
Men's Warehouse.
Sharp. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a nice jacket.
I can't stop staring at it. Keep him on the screen, actually.
That is a nice jacket.
I got to pick one of those up.
Yeah, very good.
Boy, oh boy.
Bruce Marshall loves Air Force, too, by the way.
I can see that.
Loves it.
The more I think about it, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And to his point, do you think Wazoo's going to limit this team to 220? He's like 350, whatever it was in the projections I had that he said.
Those are great numbers.
300 plus, yeah, absolutely. So that's now, are you getting a little freaked out about this Georgia Southern game?
No.
Everybody here on the network likes them, but the line's moving the other way. Let's follow the money here on VSiN. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard, final hour to go. Coming up, we will talk last man standing. And then there were two. Bill Walkowski, who created this contest. We'll ask him about it coming up next.
New to VSiN? The best way to learn more about sports betting and how VSiN can help you is to sign up for our free daily newsletter. Get an email every morning with news and betting resources plus our programming highlights. Go to vsin.com/newsletter. That's vsin.com/newsletter.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
So Dallas and Philadelphia for almost all the marbles. Dallas, it was a pick line on your look ahead, but we saw the Eagles struggle with the Washington Redskins, to put it lightly, and Dallas mopped the floor with the Rams. So what's the adjustment?
Well, Philadelphia was very lucky to win today, let alone cover. Covering is just ridiculous. They were fortunate to even win the game. Dallas had one of their best performances of the year, so you've got to readjust it to the Dallas side. We made the Cowboys a 2.5-point favorite here on the road, and I think the public is going to be all over the Cowboys in this game. I mean, Philadelphia had a lackluster performance on Monday night in a game they escaped, Matt. They had another lackluster performance today against really bad New York and Washington teams. Philadelphia not playing well. I know they've won their last two games. I'll even go back the week before that. They lost to the Dolphins as a huge favorite.
10-point road favorites.
Philadelphia not playing well right now, and Dallas coming in off of a great win.
I think he's right. I think the public's going to play the Cowboys. After the way the Cowboys just took apart the Rams today, what did you see most recently?
Yep. Jacksonville on the road against Atlanta. Falcons on the look ahead, John, over at your book. Atlanta minus 6.5. The adjustment, if any, is?
Atlanta's 7-point favorite. I think a half-point bump's deserved here. That was a good win for the Falcons today. I know that was a terrible scheduling spot for San Francisco. I get that. But you still got to give Atlanta some credit going in there, beating the Seahawks on the road. Jacksonville's win, I think, had more to do with Oakland just completely melting down than anything the Jaguars were doing today.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look, go back to the game on October 27th for Atlanta against the Seattle Seahawks. You started Matt Schaub, but since then, you are now 5-2 against the number, right? So they've been a bet-on team, and this team that we had talked about, and you didn't understand why they had started the season the way they did, 1-6 or whatever it was, has played better.
I don't understand anything about the Falcons season. I don't understand how they could have ever started off with that record with the talent on their roster. I don't know how their coaching staff is still in place. Nothing about the Falcons makes sense to me.
The only thing that made sense was the Falcons didn't play well today and cover, mainly because it was a flat spot for the 49ers.
Yeah. And the 49ers were really banged up on defense, Matt. I mean, I think the schedule spot's a great point, but they also had a couple of key guys on their D out of that game.
Definitely a beat-up team. So both factors played in favor of the Falcons today.
This is Brent Musburger, and here is your VSiN action update. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
Lakers and Bucks share the best record of the NBA at 24-4. They will meet at the Fifth Serve Forum tonight. Bucks laying 4.5 against the Lakers. Milwaukee had their 18-game winning streak snapped at a loss to Dallas this week, while the Lakers had their 14-game streak snapped at a loss at Indiana. The total at the Fifth Serve Forum, 226.5. Clippers a 5-point home favorite against the Houston Rockets today, who have won 3 of 4. The total 233 at Staples Center. College basketball, Duke a 19-point favorite at home with Wofford. Terriers have won 5 straight, including a win at North Carolina. The NHL, the Bruins a $1.70 favorite at home against the Islanders. Make sure you're ready for the College Bowl betting season with the 3rd annual VSiN College Bowl Guide. This 90-page digital magazine features stats, trends, and analysis for all 40 bowl games. It's VSiN's College Bowl Betting Guide, and it's just $14.99 at vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe. With your action update, I'm Mike Senna.
Get the latest VSiN odds at vsin.com. And remember, cash and tickets is what it's all about.
It's time to follow the money with your hosts, Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard.
It's good to have you on board. We'll talk to Bill Walkowski from Texas, well, formerly of Texas Station Casino's out here in Las Vegas. He created the Last Man Standing contest Some breaking news in the NFL, according to ESPN. The Vikings are leaning towards shutting down Dalvin Cook for the rest of the regular season.
Yep.
Okay.
Ready for the playoffs.
All right.
That's really picking up steam.
We'll find out from Paul Charchian in 45 minutes. He thinks that Madison's also going to get shut down Monday night. Other reports are saying, no, he's going to go.
Gilmore also went James Harden. No question, I'm the defensive player of the year, he said.
Oh, boy.
You got that one, too.
Did he really say that?
He said that, no question. No question. Charlie M, again, because we'll tie this into last man standing with Bill Walkowski. Only 2 weeks left. How's this work with the survivor pools? And there was Charlie's one of 6. There's 9,000 people got in. 6 are left. One guy says, no, I'm not gonna split it. I have Seattle. I like my position. If there's no winner, they continue into the playoffs. You have to pick every playoff game starting in the wild card round. Eliminate people each game till no one's left.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Oh.
That sounds like a suicide mission. The blood pressure is going to be 260 over 195. What are we doing here?
I can't believe this. I can't believe there's this many people left in a survivor, and I can't believe that we have 2 guys, 15-0 ATS, and the last man. By the way, if you're ever in town, guys, all our viewers out there, Santa Fe. It's off the beaten path, but it's a real nice book. I know our buddy Bill 80 was shocked by it. They put a lot of money into the screens, and that's a beautiful book.
I mean, some of the local, that whole property.
Yeah,
what did Bill say? It has the biggest floor for games, like video poker and everything combined in the whole city out of any casino. Is that right? Is that big?
Run it by him again. Good GM.
Red Rock,
Brent's
Green
a good
Valley.
GM, yeah.
Let me throw this at you. Now, I get it. This is a national show. This is a local flavor here. But anything qualifies for lose some, right? Keep in mind that this place was selling out not that long ago. It was Lon Kruger when he was the head coach. They would get 18,005 against like BYU on a Wednesday night. Look at the crowd last night for UNLV. And if you zoom into that picture, you could do a head count in 5 minutes. Look at that crowd. And they lost at home to Pacific. Pauly, you and I used to go to all these games, and it was the place to be.
That's how they marketed it.
What a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
Oh, man, does that hurt.
Playing pool with Frank Costanza.
Yep.
What has happened? God. I'll tell you what could be a fiasco. What's the crowd going to look like with the football team in the brand new stadium? What's that going to look like?
You're going to get 22,000 there? That's going to look like a high school game, to be honest. The crowd, when they get nobody on hand, it's not going to be a home field advantage at all. Well, it never has been anyway here in town. So
I'm trying to get a hold of Mike Palm because he's been on this for a couple weeks, and there's a viewer checking in on Twitter. Ben, he's saying his Grand Salami's like on a 30-5 under run in the hockey. That this continues to cash. Total goals every night.
That can't be right.
At the under. Well, Mike pointed out a week ago it was a sick run. It was like a huge under run. Maybe it keeps going.
30-5?
Says it keeps cashing.
That's insane. Tonight, of course, no number here in the Grand Salami. Well, there's a huge card, though, Paul. I'll give you that.
See if you can track Mike down. But Mike was on that a couple weeks ago.
All it takes
is on that salami.
You get a 2-1 game and a 3-0 game, and good luck going over.
I'm with you. I welcome and follow the money, Pauly and Mitch. I think the 30-5 is a little aggressive, but I know it was like
okay.
I remember Mike was talking about like a 22, 23-4 run or something.
Wow,
that he mentioned.
All right, joined now by Bill Walkowski, Station Casinos out here in Las Vegas. He was the mastermind years ago behind the Last Man Standing contest. Bill, thanks for the time today. So when you put this thing together, early mid 2000s, did you ever envision? Well, first of all, 6,500 entries is awesome. I'm sure you saw it getting that big. But to the point of where we're down to people remaining and we're at week 16, did you ever foresee that happening?
Actually, good morning, first of all. And no, I am absolutely, I'm blown away that we have 2 people still alive going into week 16. It's just absolutely crazy to me with the NFL, as topsy-turvy as it is. These guys are picking a gem every week, and kudos to them.
What do you think the average has been going back for the person to win this contest in which week? Would you say like 12 and a half, 13 weeks it generally takes, or what number would you put on that?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that as well, and I would say 12 and a half to 13 is the absolute number because early, obviously with less people, it cashed a little quicker. As it's grown, it's lasted a little longer, and it's been a big contest for quite a few years now, so you're getting that bigger 13, week 14 a couple times. So But this is a great run. I'm enjoying it.
Do they split it if they both go undefeated for the season? And the other thing is, and some viewers pointed this out, now that it could happen or this close, you should in the next upcoming years and forever maybe they should put a bonus in. Can you run the table, right?
Well, that's actually a great point. So first of all, your first question, yes, if it goes through 17 weeks, it's a split pot. Which, it's a last man standing for a reason. I love it being a one winner type of contest, but we have had splits before because if they both lose, they split it.
Yeah, yeah.
So on the second part of it, Paul, you tweeted me 4 or 5 weeks ago asking me that same question, and I've been putting a lot of thought into the contest. And as much as I love the contest, hey, everything's got to evolve a little bit. So I'm talking with the boys up at Red Rock, and we're talking about a couple differences for next year possibly. So stay tuned. But one of them might be, hey, you go 17-0, you get a bonus. Because what a feat. I mean, that's incredible.
Yep. I think it's going to continue to grow as you're up to 6,500 now as well. Do you have any intel on who these guys are or if they've been going back and forth, hedging or splitting it, or if they've had any communication?
So I don't have any on these two gentlemen, and we wouldn't release the names for their privacy, obviously. But I have talked to a couple of people that made it to right around the last 7, 8, 9, and you hear some bad beats about trying to hedge and trying to let it roll. And when you let it roll, you lose, and when you hedge, you win. And so they're kind of getting a little, it's tough, but you got to do it.
Do you know if they're going to try to reach out at all to find out who the other person is so they can get in touch about maybe chopping it up or somehow figuring out a way to, put equal plays in?
Well, I haven't heard anything from them. I believe it happened a year or two ago, and it was pretty simple for them. They just reached out to each other on Twitter, I believe. And, if they do that, hey, what are you going to do? They either pick the same team or whatever, but I would much prefer to watch them keep battling it out. What a great story. I mean, they would be the poster child for the contest. No offense, Mitch. They might unseat you here if they go 17-0, buddy.
Well, I mean, my God, can you imagine? Think about that. Imagine if they each go 17-0 and then they got to split it. So forever and ever and ever, they can say, I had my best bet come in every single week and I never won the contest.
I can't even imagine, but we're 2 weeks away from it.
What was it like at your book when the Eagles had the defensive touchdown to cover?
Oh, my goodness. Don't talk to me about that. That knocked me out of my fantasy league. That's all I want to say. That cheap touchdown, I lost by 3 points. I'm very bitter about it. No. But, that was probably the biggest crowd moment of the morning games because that kept a whole bunch of people live. Their parlays, they obviously go from, not covering to covering. And, that made the afternoon rush where we had 4 games, which is unique, but it was nice. Thanks, NFL, for not scheduling 2 games in the afternoon like you have some weeks. But, it made a busy afternoon for us, and we actually had a couple of good games in the afternoon to watch and bet on, especially some good in games.
When the Eagles cover like that, or when the 49er game goes over like that, do you see a guy just lose it and someone will throw something?
You hear a lot of banging on furniture, but not so much throwing. You get some screaming and yelling and a choice word you wouldn't say in church, but they get it. We got some good guys out there. They understand the good beats and bad beats, but that was brutal. That was, what are you thinking?
Well, I would actually,
but, I guess it's the last play,
Yeah, I would argue, Bill, and we're talking to Bill Walkowski, Station Casinos here in Las Vegas. I actually think that as Paul said, I think the finish to the Falcons-49ers game and for that game to go over, all things considered, 13-10 fourth quarter, I think that beat was worse if you had the under, and there was a big move on that total from, 46 to 49.5. I think that was worse than the Eagles game.
Well, again, with the NFL, that first catch looked like a touchdown.
That's what I
didn't understand it. He had the ball in his hand. The ball touched the ground, but the ball never moved in his hand. How is that? That was incredible. What they score 12 points in the last 10 seconds of the game to get over?
Pretty much.
Nuts. Mm-hmm. And then you got to love the announcers. Why is he taking a knee here?
They were,
they were crazy bad. Afternoon.
Did you get beat up on Burrow to win the Heisman, and how do you stand, because you're a big public shop, with Jackson MVP in the NFL?
We didn't get beat up as bad as some joints, but obviously Burrow was anywhere from 150 to 200 to 1 to win it at the beginning of the season. So any tickets out there are going to be a big risk. I've heard some horror stories, but I've also heard, we managed it pretty decent. It wasn't a nightmare scenario, but it definitely wasn't good for us. We would have loved to have seen, the kid from Oklahoma win, a nice chalky favorite. But, sometimes the long shot's got to pay off. So good on them for seeing it before we did, because that was not seen. That we had no idea what this kid was going to do when he was going in there.
How about Jackson?
Had a great year, though.
Yeah, Jackson MVP?
Jackson, I don't have that intel. I apologize.
Okay. No
I would have to reach out to the boys at Red Rock. But, again, probably the same thing. Who would have thought?
Well, you nailed something when you came in studio August. You said just bet Michigan under every year. And again,
well,
how about that cashing every year?
That's that team, Michigan and Tennessee. It seems like every year this is their year, and just every year they find 2 or 3 games that they absolutely don't show up for, and just tie your money up for 3 months and thank us later.
Mm-hmm. To go full circle here and close it up on Last Man Standing, and you guys had more than 4,000 in the college, again around 6,500 in the NFL. Mm-hmm. As this thing gets more steam, and I would say that you can get 10,000 in the NFL sooner than later. This is absolutely going to become commonplace, where we're talking about, hey, there's 7 guys left and we have 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, the numbers would make it very possible. And that's, again, this run is making me go back to the old drawing board and figure out a way to keep it to where it's a very relevant contest.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want it to be where, like you said, 8 people make it to the end, and now it's not the last man standing, it's the chop party. That's not what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. So it's got a couple of good ideas, and hey, you guys got me. If you have an idea, shoot it to me, because I'm listening and I'm thinking about it, and I want to make this a contest everybody wants to get into every year. And it doesn't have to be the same as it was 15, 18 years ago. Let's evolve.
Bill, could you make it where if they actually do go 17-0, it could carry over into the playoffs?
We could. I haven't thrown that into the equation yet, but absolutely you could. Why not? It's an NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
We can actually make it go all the way to the Super Bowl if we needed to. And if you're talking 10,000 people, why not?
Thanks for getting up early. Happy holidays. I'll come down and see you soon, and anxious to talk about some of the changes. But thanks for getting up.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill
Happy
Walkowski,
holidays.
Station Casinos and Santa Fe. And that was sent in by a couple of viewers. Great job pointing out, hey, you never thought about it, right?
Of course.
What if you go 17-0? There's got to be a bonus.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But eventually, I guess the more you think about it, right, it's going to be like the Super Contest. When you get 3,500 people in there, somebody's going to hit 74%.
Right. It's up to 6,500 now. It's great. $25 to get in. Up to 5 entries. Buy 4, get 1 free. I asked him about the throwing stuff comment, because I remember during it was the Patriot Falcons Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And one book in town spent all this money and put in all these beautiful TVs and big screen TVs and state-of-the-art everything, right? And then here come the Patriots all the way back, and the guy's got the Falcons. And from the way back, when they lose, he takes a beer bottle and throws it. And he happens to land right on and just
shatters the TV?
Yeah.
It's not surprising.
Oh.
I mean, when you have beats like this, it's not. I mean, we've heard about
Imagine
stories
that, Bill? Yeah, here you go.
Well, we've heard about stories of people walking, like years ago, would walk out. They would just get murdered at the tables or whatever. They would walk out. They'd have like a bottle of alcohol, probably not a bottle of beer, but like a liquor bottle that they found, and they would throw it against like the glass, whatever, like the entrance to the casino. That thing, which happened at the Rio years ago. Somebody outside the Rio threw it up to like this on the outside of going into the whole casino, shattered the whole thing. How'd you like to be that guy? First of all, you're going to go to jail for that, for sure, right? I mean, that's the first spot you're going to go to, and then what's the damage going to be after that?
You talk to a couple slot techs over the years, and the other one is a guy gets buried on the video poker, and he'll punch the screen or hit the screen, and then that smash that thing.
What is that?
What's that, all right, bill? You got to come with us. We're going to hand you the bill. Work this off. That happened at Green Valley a couple times. I was told that story.
I would tell you the story from I have a buddy who's been working slots for like 20 years here in town. He worked at a local spot years ago, and you know how they come up? This is like how far it was back. A guy was carrying like the change over his shoulders like this, big guy, and he didn't
You have
notice.
to have the buckets. No ticket in, no ticket out.
Right, exactly. He didn't notice like there was a really small woman who was playing the slots, right? And she was getting out of the way, but she leaned down to get something like this to the chair. He didn't see it, and he goes like this with one of the bags, whoosh, like this, right over the top of her head. Knocks her out cold. I mean, are they liable at that point? What are we talking about here? A bag of nickels over your head? Yeah, you're knocked silly?
Knocked out.
Good luck recovering from that. Last man standing.
I ever tell you the story about a friend? The hell with him. I don't like him. Rich. He was at a bar, and he.
I like this is where this is going. Go ahead.
And he got dealt, I think, 4 to the Royal, and he didn't. Something happened with the button, or he realized he would have had the Royal if he didn't hold. I think it was dealt. He didn't hold the 10, and it was suited, and he realized he would have got the Royal. So then he wanted to come in, and he went in the back and took he got like maple syrup or so. I don't know what he got, but he got some stuff in the back and started dumping it on the buttons. And he goes, you look at the button sticky, see? Got it. And gaming came out, and they go, oh, yeah, pay him. And he won like $4,000.
No way.
Yeah, told me the whole story.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I went back and got some stuff in the back and some concoction to make the button sticky, and he wanted to blame on the button. See, I would have held the 10 here, and I would have got the Royal, but it was a mistake, and he didn't hold the 10.
Okay, so then he stopped.
They called gaming, they came on, they paid him. He goes, yeah, bad button here. He put like some syrup or something on it.
Oh, my God. So they can go.
He's bragging about it.
He never played another hand, obviously, right? So they can go back and look at the previous hands or whatever.
They open it up. They have the whole history's in there.
Yeah.
Whole history. It's like, go back. Yep, okay, you would have the 10. It checks out. Okay. He's telling the story, and the guy looks. Pay him, he says.
Oh, pay that man his money.
$4,000. Goes in the back, pours some stuff on it there.
And boy, that's some shady business right there.
That's bad karma.
That should be
enjoy
bad
the money,
karma.
but I mean that's
yeah.
Then he got hit by a car.
Well, he should have.
Well, it works.
Mm-hmm. We got props up, by the way, here at the South Point.
I remember what you were like for that contest, and a great job by you as you won it. But I mean, you were what a sweat. I mean, it was.
Well, because it's not a 3-hour sweat for a football game that you're watching. You're catching 6 points in a game.
Once you get down to 10 people left, and it's $20,000. I mean, here, can you imagine $150,000 winner take all?
Well, that was years ago, and I had I didn't have cash flowing out of my pockets.
I love Anthony Curtis, but I will disagree with something he said yesterday. You can't assume these are sharp guys. You can't assume.
I can't assume that at all.
You can't assume they're talking to each other. You can't assume they've already hedged. You also, because look at the guy you're telling me a professional, a sharp guy, when the Rams are +3 and they go off the favor, he's going to give out the Rams?
I would agree with that.
That was the guy with the guy.
No, I don't think that. You can't consider that these guys are pros.
You don't know. Maybe guys just got, that happens. Guy gets hot.
Mm-hmm. Team to score the first touchdown here at the South Point, 10 o'clock Pacific games for Sunday. The favorites, the Ravens, they're 6-1 against the Browns. The Saints are 7-1 against the Titans. Falcons are 7-1 against the Jags. Titans in the same game against New Orleans, they're 9-1. Bengals, Dolphins, each team's 12-1. Did you see that this game's down to a pick'em? Boy, is that fishy. I don't know how these two teams, playing in Miami, it's a pick'em. It makes no sense to me, but it makes me want to take the Bengals. Because what am I missing? And then the favorite to score the most points this weekend, Seahawks, they take on Arizona. They're 7-1, and Baltimore's 8-1 against Cleveland.
I think the Week 17 line's strange. Browns are 3 at Cincinnati. But then again, will Kitchens just stick with the run, which he hasn't done all year because they could run all over him.
See,
that was a strange game when they just played and they covered. Well, that depends what number you got, but it fell 8.
Yeah.
But that was they kept holding them in the red zone and forcing field goals.
I can see the Bengals winning this game and then just saying close it down Week 17 because we have 2 wins and we're going to get the number 1 overall pick. I guess you could argue it could go the other way. They don't win this game, and then they come back and they beat the Browns in Week 17 because they hate them.
How about Giants-Redskins, both 15-1? Danny Dimes turnover early?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a big player.
I'm on board.
I think there could be, yeah. It always seems when the bad teams play, it's a shootout.
Yep. This show, Follow the Money, brought to you by Omaha Steaks. And this season, they're sharing an amazing limited-time offer with our listeners and viewers to get a jump on your holiday shopping. You can go to their website, which is omahasteaks.com, put in the code Brent. Right in the search bar, order the favorite gift package, the gift all your friends and family will love, for only $69.99. The website is omahasteaks.com. Put in the code Brent.
Mike Palm, we found him. Okay. 26-7 run, salami under. 26-7 run. Easy winner last night, he says.
Okay. Very strong. Win-lose coming up next.
VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
The Detroit Lions and the Denver Broncos. This is a really interesting spot. So your guys' look ahead over at the Superbook, John, was Denver -6.5. Both of these teams coming off losses in which they did not look great. But what do you make in the adjustment? What's the line now?
We reopened at 6 this evening. We're back up to 6.5. So we've been pushed back up a little bit on this game. Total of 38. So clearly we don't make much of the two quarterbacks in this game, Blau and Locke. They both struggle today, let's say that. Tough spot for Locke, though, on the road in that snowstorm. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. So, Humans, what do you make of this? Because you had the note in the last hour, for those who missed it, coming into today, Broncos were 7-2 against the number in their previous 9 games before failing to cover against Kansas City. Locke, you can't deny that Locke had showed promise in the 2 games prior, but you are playing in Denver, which we could have the chance of inclement weather yet again for the young quarterback.
Yeah, you could. It's interesting when you look at the Lions because this team actually had played well in the first month, right? And I think it was Kurt Warner of the NFL Network who tweeted that the Lions, he had watched tape and he said the Lions were the best team in that division. Yep. Right? And they are sitting there right now, 3-10-1. So it's been a pathetic last couple months for the Lions. I'm not sure what this team's playing for at this point. And at least Drew Lock and the Broncos, they feel like they're trying to find out if he's going to be next year's starting quarterback. Is he going to be the franchise quarterback? So a little bit more incentive on the Broncos side. 2 putrid performances for both of these teams. Oakland on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is great. Chargers on the look-ahead, John, was -6.5. What do we have on the open today?
Right now, the Chargers are a 5-point favorite. There's a total of 47. It's a hard game to know what to do with. Is this a letdown spot for Oakland after they lost the last game in the Coliseum? Do either of these teams care? Yeah. Are the Raiders fans going to show up in L.A. to support the team? My guess to that one's probably yes, because the Raiders have a great fan base. Well,
after what happened today with the Raiders in the last game in the Black Hole, I think their fans probably even got to be a little bit dispirited.
Sure.
And, if you look at the Chargers in this spot, too, JVT, is this going to be Phillip Rivers' final game? It's going to be his final home game as a Chargers quarterback, you would think, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to mean something, I would think, to Phillip Rivers, and the Raiders got to be a little bit flat just after what happened. That's just a ridiculous loss today by the Raiders, and I don't know, now that team has lost, was it 5 in a row?
Yeah, I believe they were 6-4. Now they're 6-8. I think they lost 4 in a row.
Lost 4 in a row, and to lose the final game in the Black Hole the way they did today, I think it would be kind of hard to motivate that team next week. And this being Phillip Rivers' likely final home game as a Chargers quarterback, I think I would have to look that direction, but I really don't want to touch a Chargers game at this point.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. The best way to get in touch with us here on the show. Follow us on Twitter at VSiN Live, at Mitch Moss Radio, at Pauly Howard. Here we go. Time for Win-Lose.
Rough night?
Can't call it a bad beat. Definitely lose some.
Good night? How does it make you feel?
I absolutely hate them. I absolutely hate them.
Follow the Money Looks Back so we can learn for today.
Everything's an adventure.
And win some, lose some. Let the education commence.
Bad beats. Heat Sixers under, also lose some. 213.5 down to 208. It fell 212. 56 points in the fourth quarter. Miami hands Philly their first home loss. Magic +9, led by 15 in the third quarter at Denver. That pushed. Lose some. Pistons +4 down to 2. Lost by 13 at home to Toronto. Arizona State +2 went off the favorite. Lost by 40 to St. Mary's. A guy off the bench had 43 of the 56 points. The rest of the team was 5 of 35. 96-56, St. Mary's.
I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Tennessee State, Indiana State under, 147 down to 143, no good. Richmond, Old Dominion over, 128 up to 132, lost. Kentucky and LSU both laying 9 and 10, lost outright. Kentucky lost to Utah. LSU lost to East Tennessee State.
Hey, can I give you one on here on Virginia real quick? Another game under last night. Final score 56-44. They have now held their opponents to 50 points or fewer 8 times this year.
Impressive.
Team total under every single game.
Bad for the Bucks. Pelicans +7 down to 3.5. One outright. No cat for Minnesota. Golden State, Portland over 219 up to 221. 122-112. Niagara, the Bonaventure, over. 130 up to 133.5, 87-70. East Tennessee State, LSU under 153 down to 149, 74-63. Gonzaga from 10 up to 14, won by 13 over Carolina. Utah Valley from 1 up to 2.5, won by 2. Lose some. John Pappas on Twitter. Sports bettors. A couple of provisions in the draft Tennessee sports wagering rules that could concern you. Mandate that operators hold 15%. Number 2, limits on parlays and props, including grading a push as a loss. Ugh.
It's absolutely disgusting.
15%?
How do you mandate holding 15%?
Well, the second part, too, is that when you come to town, also be careful. There are ties-lose parlay cards.
100% be careful.
You got to read the fine print on that sucker. Win some. How good is the dog here? The guy goes down to eat his dinner, and he's going to sit down. He pushes the chair out and falls right on his ass. What a move by the dog here. I mean, come on. Don't treat your owner like that. Problems at home? Look at the guy. He starts licking it up, too. Gets right on it. Has he got the soup or whatever? Yeah, it looks like he's got soup or
It's
something.
the best way for the dog to get the food, actually.
Oh, man. That's great. And this is, hey, honey, they took my boat. You won't believe it. Look at it. Of all things to walk into on a Thursday morning on Follow the Money.
Well,
look at that. The seals are bigger than a boat.
How about you walk down to the marina to get your boat and you see this happening?
Yes.
Look at how big they are. I'm telling you, they each have to weigh at least a ton. I mean, I'm no marine biologist, Paul, but judging by the eyeball test here, look at that. The guy in the back?
Is that a Titleist? Look at that.
And the sea's not even angry.
You know, and this is good, too. I mean, this guy is all in with the Christmas spirit. On the subway, dressed as the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Ornaments and everything walking around. He nailed it.
Well, put you in a good mood, right?
Yeah. At Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. Those videos are up. Again, if you missed it, an all-timer. It's up. The German Shepherd leading the first responders to the fire, coming out on the highway, on the main road. Brought to you by Lasso Injury Law. Use them, you should too. Consultation's free. He'll fight for you. 702-625-8777. $20 million verdict, and a largest verdict in a slip and fall, and also $20 million verdict, swing set accident. HOA fell asleep there. Al will take advantage. His settlements are astonishing, and he's helped me out numerous times. If you have an incident at a casino or you're a local, Al Lasso Injury Law.
We'll talk to Paul Charchian coming up in about 15 minutes, fanball.com, his thoughts on the final week of the fantasy football playoffs. I still can't believe this, actually. He gets feedback from people. I think it's around 5% of his followers have said they actually play Week 17 in their championship round. How could you possibly do that?
Give me that again.
Like 5% of leagues are still done. The championship round is Week 17.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, please.
You imagine you've done this the whole year.
Oh, God.
You had the wherewithal to draft Lamar Jackson like in round 9 or round 10. You're in the champ.
Come on.
But he's not going to play Week 17?
Come on.
How could you possibly do that? It's asinine. We'll go rapid fire. It's a huge card coming up tonight in hockey. Some NBA as well. Big game on the docket. And our in-pocket plays for the evening next here on Follow the Money.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
We opened this game, New England 7. Not much has changed in the last couple hours, in my opinion. You might see this number go up a little bit because the public is going to be all over New England, but I think there's going to be some sharp support for the Bills. You know, the Bills' defense continues to impress almost every week, and the Patriots' offense continues to struggle almost every week. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you really need to go higher than 7 on this game.
Well, it's similar to their first match, right? It just sat on 7 the entire week, and
yeah, and really, I think New England, if I remember that game, they scored on a blocked punt for a touchdown.
Yep.
I mean, even the game today, New England had a pick 6. Tom Brady only threw for 128 yards.
Oh, and he looked bad. Like, he was inaccurate. He wasn't finding guys.
I saw him miss a wide-open throw in the end zone that should have been a touchdown. I mean, even his first touchdown pass, he just dumped it off to James White, who ran it into the end zone. Yep. Brady, I don't think it's all his fault, but he's not playing very well right now.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, because we make a lot of this New England offense and the way they've looked, humans, and it's granted it's actually warranted because they have looked bad. Joe Mixon was trashing them in the first half. And defensively, we have seen them now in about 3 matchups where they face competent offenses, and especially ground games, and they have no answer for it defensively after having a historic run through their first 8 games on defense. So be interesting to see, because we've talked about it here off the air. You got a pretty good running back in Devin Singletary, who they use quite a bit, and a quarterback who can run the ball very well in Josh Allen. And the last point on this, the game that John was referencing, the first matchup, you saw Matt Barkley for about a quarter in that game too, remember?
Right.
Wait, here's a question. If Buffalo clinches a playoff berth, they're not going to catch New England for the division. How much do they care about weeks 16 and 17?
What do you mean?
Won't they already have their playoff position basically locked in?
I mean, they can still win the AFC East, though.
They could still catch New England? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Bills
So-
would be 10-4 with a win tonight.
Yep.
So they would be, okay, they'd only be 1 game behind. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Washington, a 4-point favorite against Boise State. Looks to be the highest profile matchup by a pretty wide margin, actually. So, yeah, I would say that'll be the biggest handle game of the day in college football.
So most books in town, actually almost every other book in town is at 3.5, but the Westgate's sitting at 4, Washington -4.
Yeah, we haven't seen any sharp action there. Chris Peterson going away game there, revenge spot for Peterson. There really hasn't been much to report on that game yet.
San Diego State 3.5-point favorite over Central Michigan. Georgia Southern 5.5 over Liberty. SMU 3 over Florida Atlantic without Lane Kiffin. Arkansas State 2.5 over Florida International, and App State 17 over UAB.
App State will be a real popular pick. You got the night game, 6 o'clock local time out here. Everyone's going to roll their parlays to the Appalachian State Mountaineers there.
Winning tastes better with a VSiN Bookmaker Blonde. Bookmaker Blonde Golden Ale was born and brewed in Montana, just like the Godfather, Brent Musburger. And now it's available right here in Las Vegas. Next time you're in town, ask for an ice-cold Bookmaker Blonde to enjoy while you're waiting for your bets to cash at the South Point, the D, the Westgate Casinos, and more locations coming soon. Go to bookmakerblonde.com to find out if it's available at your favorite sports book or bar. Bookmakerblonde with an E.com.
The Grand Salami is 14-4 to the under in December.
It's pretty damn solid.
Let's keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Big card tonight. In pocket, baby. Let's rock and roll. We're adding some stuff here, and it'll be... I can't wait for Fridays now. How good is this? Chuck Gettle, who's been on fire. Adam Chernoff. How good's Adam? He was 3-1.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Siegel, who's giving out 4 horses now, and 3 of them have won. Jeff Siegel's from Express Bet tomorrow.
Can you believe that?
Oh,
he's hitting
great.
75% on his horses going back the last 2 weeks. And we've never had a guy give us a horse ever.
No, yeah, and he's, yeah, right.
And this guy's
lived
like,
here for 20 years.
Yeah, here's 3 out of 4 for you. How does that sound?
Jeff Siegel tomorrow. And we'll do that also this same time when we'll give our picks and we'll run down what Jeff has. Broncos, 6.5. That's moved against the Lions. And this has moved big time. Texans, pick or 1, now up to 3 at Tampa. Love the Texans Saturday. If they get me, so be it. Because Winston's losing some weapons. No defensive special teams touchdown parlay. Rams game. Rams and Niners, Saints and Titans. And also Cowboys, Eagles, Chiefs, and Bears. Week 17, adding Steelers +3 at Baltimore. Ravens win Sunday. They'll sit Jackson and sit, based on Harbaugh's history, they'll sit everybody. And then a couple bowls. Bad number with SMU. Really like Vatek, 3 against Kentucky. Also Georgia Southern, which is a bad number now. Which is, I don't get the Liberty money either, down to 4. And Auburn 7.5 against Minnesota. I think they take them out in a body bag.
Well, I'm going to add that one again. I'll get to that one shortly here. Along with Clippers, I'll do a half unit on the Clippers first half tonight at home to the Rockets, laying 2.5, and the other half unit I'll throw on Clippers -5 for the game. Boy, I hope I have a good bowl season. How many games have I bet so far? But I had Georgia Southern -5. I bet it again, -4. I don't agree with the line move. And I have the over 56.5 on top of that.
Well, if you listen to Paul Stone's breakdown.
It was sensational.
I mean, what? I don't know how you go. Give me Liberty.
Some of those numbers, too, that Kenny White had on the rushing.
Yes.
I know Dave Koken has been huge into that over the years as well.
Yes.
Yep.
And he's done well with it.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Okay, so you asked me earlier how I would bet the Lakers-Bucks tonight. I said I would lean Bucks minus 4.5 or 5. How about you? It's the best game of the year so far. On paper, 24-4 versus 24-4. And the numbers on the Bucks are just flat out insane. Number 1 overall as a team, points per game, rebounds, defensive rebounds, plus minus, true shooting percentage, fast break points, points in the paint, they're tied with the Lakers. Opponents' second chance points, opponents' points in the paint. And there's also like rim protection, opponents' field goal percentage at the rim, and like 3 other ones. I couldn't even fit them all in one tweet. That's how good the team has been so far this year.
I'd have to go Bucks too, because they were so bad, with the exception of Freak against Dallas. Nobody could make a shot. And the Lakers are finishing off this long road trip too. So another home game for Milwaukee, I'd give them the edge here and lay the 4. That's a high total though too. This is the top 2 defensive teams in the league.
Yeah, you're right.
And I know this is defensive efficiency, but I mean, yeah, that is a big total.
I'm going to look right now. The Bucks this year off of a loss so far. After a loss ATS, because I know last year they were just such a machine in the regular season. Well, Lakers are 3-0 off of a loss so far ATS, and Milwaukee's 2-1, and they're covering by 7.5 points per game after a loss. Let me go back to last season with this team. It was one of the best talking points of the entire year. They were 19-7, including the playoffs last year, off a loss, but that skewed because.
4 against...
all of the losses against... it was 4 in a row against Toronto.
Yeah.
So if you take out the playoffs...
Take that out.
And just go regular season, it was 18-4, I believe.
That still haunts me. Bucks 100-1. I only took a little bit of Toronto plus 6. Toronto was 6-1 to win that series down 0-2. Remember, they lost game 2 by 30.
And the Bucks gave away game 3.
Yeah.
Did not play well, gave away game 3.
Lost in overtime.
Overtime. Lost, yeah. And there was, right, do I have this right? There was a BS call on Giannis to foul him out of the game.
Probably.
We'll go with it.
Hockey tonight. Let's see how the Bruins do. They're on a 1-4-2 run, but they have owned the Islanders. They beat them 7 in a row and 12 of 14. Islanders off the 8-3 loss at home against Nashville. But the problem, it's a good team, so I guess they get a big effort out of the Bruins, right? Oh. With the losses, they got beat by the Kings, Ottawa, Chicago. Pick it up, Boston. Come on. 10-point lead in the division, though. $1.65 at home against the Islanders. I think the Tampa total's too high at 6. Dallas 24-10-1 to the under on the season. I'm not sure Tampa should be $1.65 either. They're getting priced like last year. They're $4.40 against Ottawa. Had to win in overtime.
I'll check right now. I think the overnight line was much higher than this, actually.
Vegas flu in action. Wild in Arizona. Arizona $1.45. Hall makes his home debut.
Little Coyotes puck line.
Wild is they're 2-0 against that. That's the way to do it because it's 9 of the 10 winners have been on the puck line.
Yep.
That it's plus 175. Golden Knights 8-0-1 against the Canucks all time, and they're $1.25 on the road. They're playing good hockey. I think we'll get a goal in the first 10 in that one. Real good game in Colorado. Carolina on a 5-1 run at Colorado on a 9-1-1 run. Colorado's on a back-to-back. Real good game.
And Colorado playing Chicago last night over again, 1.5 goals first period.
Yep.
24-10 or 25-10. It's early. I'm getting confused by the numbers here. But either way, they're the best team in hockey to go over 1.5 goals in the first period. And now they've been best team like that now for a while.
And something that doesn't make any sense, the Blackhawks are 6-1 on back-to-backs. You figure that out. They're a last place team.
Yeah, they're no good. But put them in this situation, get out of their way.
It is 24-10.
24-10.
They played 34 games, Colorado. And to update everything, goal in the first 10, Flyers 25-9. They're at home tonight. They're 15-2 on the road. Next opportunity there will be Saturday. But they are 25-9, Colorado 24-10. At home, Arizona in play at home tonight. 14-3, Kings 13-4, Lightning 13-4. Coyotes and Lightning at home. On the road, Flyers 15-2, as I mentioned, Sharks 13-4. And don't forget about Calgary, 25-11 to the under in the first period. And Tampa, 26-6 to the over in the third period.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN. Mitch Moss along with Pauly Howard. Up next, the final appearance from Paul Charchian to talk fantasy anyway. It's Week 16. It is it's the real championship round for those of you again playing in Week 17. Don't do that. Get rid of that. Get a different commissioner if you have to. We will ask him a lot of things including which players or situations scare the daylights out of him in the championship round. Paul Charchian coming up next.
Last week, here's some of what you missed.
On Saturday, in the first game, JVT is the most entertaining player in the NFL in action.
That's right. Jameis Winston taking on the Houston Texans and their porous secondary. Your look ahead was Tampa Bay -1, John. What'd you do with the adjustment?
You got the Tampa Bay Houston game's a pick. The total's 52.5 for you Jameis Winston fans out there. The kind of game that Houston usually wins on the road and that Tampa Bay usually loses at home.
I guess the question here would be, do you think the Texans go off as slight favorites?
Probably. After that good win today, I think they probably do.
Let's watch out. Coming into today, Houston 27th against the pass, according to Football Outsiders. Jameis Winston, itchy trigger finger. Some shops on the screen right now have Houston as a 1-point favorite with a total of 53. So,
and the public is going to bet Houston, so I think Matt's probably on the mark there. Houston with a chance to win their division and get to the postseason. Tampa Bay is playing well right now, but they're not going to go anywhere.
So, I have a question for you because I actually talked to Jay Cornegay about this early this morning. The Sharps really like Tampa Bay, but it's usually on the road, right? When they come back home, it's usually a spot where they either stay away or maybe even play against them.
Generally speaking, that's been the case, but we saw some sharp money come in on the Bucs this week. Oh, no, that was on the road. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Usually they do, and Houston is usually another one. We talk about this all the time, Matt. They love to back the Texans on the road.
No doubt. Here you got a Buccaneers team that's going over the total every week, and a Bucs team that's not very good at home, and a Texans team that's in its best role here on the road. So I think that's the way people are going to handicap this game. And Texans need to win the AFC South, right? So it's the game means more for the Texans. I think that's the way people are going to bet it.
I cannot wait. Best game on the board this weekend.
Well, whatever the Winston game. So what are we going to do on Sunday if Winston's already played Saturday?
I might not go to the West.
Yeah,
I don't have a will to watch football.
I'm going to talk to the guys. I'm going to take Sunday off. Okay. What's I going to watch?
Are you going to go to Kohl's, or what would you do if you took Sunday off?
Kohl's is an option.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it's my first choice.
Target? Would you go to Target?
Sears?
I think I'd need a better excuse than that, Matt. I don't think I could just say, hey, I'm going to Kohl's. I'm not coming in today.
Could you imagine somebody skipping work and saying that?
It's unfathomable.
I couldn't imagine
that.
No,
Circuit City.
I can't imagine it. These young guys don't even remember Circuit City. The young listeners.
It's a good reference, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Or Radio Shack.
Yeah. Sears.
It's our final week with a Hall of Famer. Paul Charchian, fanball.com, Week 16 championship round of fantasy football. Charch, good morning. Happy holidays, all that jazz. How are you, pal?
I'm doing great. Great to talk to you guys one last time. Hi, Pauly.
No. We got to get you on to talk about the Vikings playoffs. Come on now.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. The Vikings are going to make the playoffs, and we'll break down the Vikings games. You're right. This won't be the last time.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, Week 15, that had to have been like the highest scoring playoff round I can ever remember. I mean, hardly any of the main players from the entire year didn't perform.
Yeah, and really it's somewhat indicative of the whole season. We didn't have nearly as many of the first and second round disaster guys. Every year's got a couple. We had David Johnson was bad, Odell Beckham was bad, Juju Smith-Schuster bad, but mostly, the top 30 players that went in the drafts, mostly they were between okay and pretty good. And a lot of them, it all came together. I don't feel like you can really say I got gypped at the end. Mostly I think the right teams are the ones standing right now, and yep. I think this season played out chalky and fair.
Did you get any tweets about people who had Gurley and dropped the wide open 2-point conversion or the Eagles defensive touchdown with that?
Oh, lots on the Eagles. Yeah, okay. There were a lot of people. There were a lot of people that lost. Yeah, much like for you guys in the betting side.
Yep.
Lots of fantasy outcomes twisted on that Eagles change for sure. A lot of losers turned into winners and vice versa.
Okay, so in the championship round and the guys that have gotten us to this point, I'll go back to what you were talking about 30 seconds ago. Do you anticipate any situations here that could get dicey, or any players or spots that scare you to death this week?
Well, the one that everybody's talking about is here in Minnesota, where Dalvin Cook comes into the Monday night game as unknown. And we have 3 Saturday games. We've got, 11 on Sunday. And you got to set your lineups on Saturday and Sunday, not knowing for sure about Dalvin Cook. But let me tell you what I'm hearing here and what I believe is going to be the case for Monday. Alexander Mattison, although the Vikings haven't said it, I believe he's got a high ankle sprain, and it's only 2 weeks into it. I don't think he's going to be a factor here, and I don't think he's going to play. Dalvin Cook, I believe, will get rested, even if he could play if they needed him. I think they're going to start turning him towards the playoffs. I don't think we're going to see Dalvin Cook. I think it's going to be Mike Boone. Now, for the people that are watching and have no idea who Mike Boone is, and why would you? Third string running back for the Vikings. The kid's really good. Mike Boone would be a starting running back for 10 different NFL teams right now. He's really good. He's got a lot of acceleration and power, mostly a straight ahead runner. You're going to see, you'll see him perform well. The 2 touchdowns he scored last week were not a fluke. I think he'll be the starter. He will play well against a middling Packer run defense.
Put it this way, Charch. I had $3 left in the fab, and so the guy that I'm going against had 0. So I used 2 on him, and he was available, and I got him. And I'm more than likely going to use Mike Boone in the championship round.
He's my number 14 ranked running back this week.
It's crazy.
So, yes, I mean, it's come to that. Now, we talked a little bit about Brashad Perriman last week. You can't fall asleep at the wheel and think just because I'm in the playoffs or just because I'm in the championship that my roster has been sanctified and I don't have to make any changes. You just don't go with the guys that got you there. You have to always be trying to put together the best lineup. And sometimes that's hitting the waiver wire for Raheem Mostert or Mike Boone or Brashad Perriman at the end of the year.
Great call on Perriman. What happens Saturday now with, it looks like Godwin's down too, about Winston and who delivers. And it should be an aerial circus either way. I think Hopkins and Watson will have a big game too.
I do too. I like all of those players. These are 2 really struggling secondaries, and there's nobody left to throw to other than Brashad Perriman there. The pass defense has to go through him. We talked about it last week. He's just run straight, run fast. That's Jameis Winston, who just heaves these long passes, unconscious, doesn't care, picked off, whatever. It doesn't even matter. He just keeps chucking them downfield. It's a perfect matchup. He's inside my top 10. He's my number 9 wide receiver, Brashad Perriman, this week in an easy matchup against Houston.
Okay, it's Follow the Money here on VSiN. Our guest, Paul Charchian, fanball.com. I love this guy's talent, but I've hated the spot he's been in for the last couple of years. I've had him in leagues going back since he came into the league. Talking about Joe Mixon. Think about this now. He was like an afterthought. Maybe you benched him midway through the season. Now, not only has he been on a tear, but he is he's going to win people championships this week.
He is. And, for teams, there are a lot of owners. And Mixon did nothing for the whole first half of the season. The offensive line was so bad. He couldn't get anything going there. But the offensive line slowly got a little bit better. And then they just decided, basically, we're just going to run him into the ground. And they give him so much usage. And now he gets the Dolphins. It's a perfect matchup right now. Joe Mixon's my number 4 ranked running back. Highest grade of the whole year is right now in the championship. And it's a fantastic opportunity for him. And he's as bankable as anybody, which, we never would have saw coming a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Do you like Austin Eckler or Melvin Gordon more this week for the Chargers against Oakland?
I always like Eckler better because even in flop games, he still helps you out with the receiving. And so I almost always have Eckler as the better back. I do this week as well. He's way up at number 6. Where he's still, it's not like he doesn't run the ball. I think there's this impression that Eckler only gets what he can get through the air, but he runs plenty as well. And the Raiders have allowed 6 running back scores, and 3 different backs have topped 100 yards in just since week 10. So there's a lot of opportunities for a couple of good backs here, but I like Eckler better. And by the way, he's just plain better. He's just a better back than Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. Same game, no Josh Jacobs. How high are you on DeAndre Washington this week?
I'm lukewarm on him because the matchup is not ideal for Washington. He will get almost all of the carries here. Goes up against the Chargers. Washington, by the way, Washington's not very good. He has failed to top 3.8 yards per carry in every game in the whole second half of the season here. Chargers have allowed 4 scores on the ground to opposing backs. And that's your best chance here is a touchdown for DeAndre Washington, but I don't think he's going to help you out other ways. But hopefully Oakland gets close to the goal line. He gets a touchdown, and we're happy.
You worried about Dak's shoulder?
Yeah, a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. I mean, at this time last week, we were worried about Jameis Winston's hand.
Yeah.
400 yards later. So, I'm a little bit worried, but man, is the matchup good. The Eagles, the last 3 quarterbacks the Eagles have faced, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Eli Manning, Dwayne Haskins. As these are lower tier passers for sure, and they're still getting obliterated by those guys. Here comes Dak Prescott and Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper. Assuming the injuries don't play too much of a role, it's an amazing opportunity for that offense.
Here's what scares me to death personally this weekend, because in my one league where I'm in the championship round, the guy that I'm taking on, he had the best overall record. He beat me twice already. He came back. He won by a point thanks to Drew Brees on Monday night. He got there, by the way, with Amari Cooper doing nothing last week. And I know that Cooper's going to go nuts this weekend.
That happens. You see it all the time in fantasy when, the guy who has the great player was the down week last week, has the explosive week the next week. You should be worried because the matchup against Ronald Darby, that cornerback is just getting roasted by everybody. And he's terrible, Pauly. And if Cooper can get that matchup more often than not, it's going to be a disaster for anybody who has to face, like you, Mitch, that has to face off against Cooper.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours here. Other guys that you love, sneaky guys that might still be available to pick up. Again, it's all about matchups. Don't be afraid to use a waiver wire in championship round.
Correct. Drew Lock had a down game last week in the snow against a good Kansas City pass defense. Now he gets Detroit. This is a team that gives up explosive games to quarterbacks like no other team. 6 quarterbacks have thrown for 3 or 4 touchdowns against Detroit. 7 quarterbacks have topped 300 yards. And both have happened in 5 different games. And Drew Lock looked great in those first 2 games. So I like him here. Devonta Freeman, disaster season for him. I don't think he'll even be a Falcon next year, but you can use him against one of the 2 worst run defenses in the league, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville's allowed 10 running back scores in their last 6 games. They've given up 6 100-yard rushing and receiving games in the last 6 games. So Devonta Freeman's a good play. And then here's your other waiver wire guy. If you find yourself in a pinch, you need a home run. Allen Lazard of the Packers against the Vikings. The Vikings outside cornerbacks are dreadful. They rank 72nd by Pro Football Focus. The ranking is 72nd, 83rd, and 111th. Are the cornerbacks for the Vikings. There's a great opportunity here. And for as bad and inconsistent as Aaron Rodgers statistically has been, he has these blow-up games where he's just lights out. And the Vikings secondary is so bad. This could be one of them. They can't all go to Devontae Adams. Allen Lazard, deep sleeper, week 16.
Beautiful. We have less than 2 minutes here. The Vikings don't lose this game on Monday night, though, do they?
They really shouldn't. Regardless of the running back situation, the Vikings have way more to play for. They've been, frankly, the better team for most of this year. And so, yeah, I think the Vikings, and at home, the Vikings are so much better than they are on the road. Unbeaten at home. The Packers have never won in the stadium. So, yeah, there's a lot of momentum for the Vikings to win this, and I do believe they will win.
As a Hall of Famer, the number one thing that you would advise commissioners to change next year, 2020, for fantasy football?
You have to use free agent blind bidding for your waiver wire in season. That's a mandatory. You can't have trade vetoes. There are leagues out there that let the other owners vote thumbs up or thumbs down on your trade, and all they do is protect their own self-interest. Mm-hmm. So that's got to go as well. And then the last thing, the last spot for your playoffs should go to the team with the most points, regardless of record. So if there's some team that scored a bunch of points, but they keep playing great teams every week, and they've been hard luck losers, they still got a way to get into the playoffs.
100% that, and never be in a league where the championship round is week 17.
Oh God, no! That just goes without saying. There's a reason we're not talking next week, guys. We don't do championships in week 17 around here.
All right, tell everybody about fanball.com.
We keep playing at fanball.com because we've got daily fantasy and including daily fantasy auctions at fanball.com. But all my player rankings available for free. Fanball.com/charge, $1,000 free tournament. You can play against me also, fanball.com/charge, and a $10,000 tournament next week for our Tournament of Champions. Also, all that available for free, fanball.com/charge.
Excellent. You're the best. Happy holidays. We will be in touch, though. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, we'll be talking the wild card round of the playoffs.
Okay.
Thanks,
buddy. There you go. Paul Charchian.
All right. This is what a day it's going to be for Point Shaver tomorrow. There's a 6-0, a 15-0, and a 17-1, all are coming into play this week in the NFL.
Oh, so you mean we're gonna really pimp his Twitter handle tomorrow? Is what you're saying?
Well, but look at these; are crazy though. And I'll give you a tease on one of them. It's a New England game. Buffalo is averaging 2 points on the road in the first quarter. They're averaging 2 points in the first quarter on the road. That's going to fall 17-1.
New to VSiN? The best way to learn more about sports betting and how VSiN can help you is to sign up for our free daily newsletter. Get an email every morning with news and betting resources plus our programming highlights. Go to vsin.com/newsletter. That's vsin.com/newsletter.
If you didn't catch VSiN last week, here's some of what you missed.
The Los Angeles Rams on the road taking on the San Francisco 49ers. John, your look ahead over at your shop, San Francisco -6.5. After the results of the weekend, what's the adjustment?
Still 6.5. Both teams, bad losses today. One thing to look at, though, in this game, if you're looking for an angle, the Rams, I believe, were eliminated today. And the 49ers, we talked about it earlier.